What is good, Nation? What's good? It's your boy Reason, and we are back here for another one, like we do every year. It is the regular season roundtable, where all the guys up here will give you their game-to-game predictions. Some have already come out, some have not. We'll also give a couple bold takes, and then we got a bunch of stuff regarding this season we're going to go over. But without further ado, Dougley, Richmond, Dante, Mr. Ballgame, Neal Driscoll, and of course the homie Martin. How are y'all doing tonight, boys?
Doing good.
Chilling, man.
Good.
Doing good.
Let's hop right into it, and let's start off with Richmond Webb's favorite aspect of the game here.
Since when?
Yeah, I know, eh? The offensive line, guys. It's been a conversation through the whole Flores regime. It's really been a conversation since the Unicorns and Jay Ajayi went away. We've seen, I mean, that game against Philadelphia. Now I get it. Second, third, fourth stringers and guys will be stocking low shelves tomorrow. I get it. But the fact is you saw what the potential of this offense can be when the offensive line does its job, opens run games, open run lanes, et cetera, et cetera. What are your guys' overall expectations for the offensive line heading into 2022, especially when, let's be honest with ourselves, Greg Little is probably our best swing tackle option right now. In terms of interior, it's probably Robert Jones and Michael Dieter are your backup guard and center right now. What are your guys' expectations with an offensive line that Terron Armstead is known to miss games and Connor Williams is out of position? We'll start off with you, Doug. What are your expectations this year for the offensive line?
Anything better than last. Having the worst offensive line in the NFL last year, and it was one of the worst in a long time too. It's not even just last year, because a lot of people like to say that Justin Herbert had a bad offensive line in 2020. Last year was worse. It was pretty bad offensive line. So my expectation is if we can get like a mid-tier offensive line, like give me like 16th ranked, 17th ranked offensive line, I think Tua can cook with that. I think the offense can cook with that. Like you said, Terron Armstead, I'm hoping we can get at least like 14 games out of him. That would be fantastic. But I prefer Little than Coleman. Coleman was, doing horrible, especially in camp and preseason. So Little, feel a little better about that. To me, it's Austin Jackson. Tua's blind side. How is he going to do? He was pretty decent in the preseason, but again, that's against backups. He wasn't really going against like Khalil Mack, Bosa, all these guys. So middle of the pack is my expectation on the offensive line.
Yeah, I mean, I've said just give me anywhere around 20. I don't care if it's 18. I don't care if it's 22. I mean, last year, I believe Joe Burrow and the Bengals had the 22nd ranked offensive line. You know what I mean? I agree with you. If you get in and around 20, you're cooking. You'll be running the ball, and Tua will have protection he's never had before. And you all are also right, because you hear it a lot. Oh, Herbert had this bad line. Well, the thing is, if you look at even PFF, let's use an example. And I don't use PFF as, listen, people on this channel know it's not a gospel for me. Unless that grade matches my eye test, it ain't the gospel for me, right? That's just how I look at it, right? And, that was the worst offensive line in terms of grading that they've seen since they started grading offensive line. So, I mean, you are right. People want to hang their hat. Well, Herbert had this, but did Herbert have historically bad? You know what I mean? And that's a difference. You're right, 100%. Richmond. Yeah. I know everyone's listening to this one. So what are your expectations for the offensive line this year?
Yeah, I think you and Doug kind of hit it off the head, starting out. Anything is definitely better than last year. I think that was, people that didn't even understand football understood that we had offensive line problems. So I do like the additions of Connor Williams and Terron Armstead. Like you said, if those guys can stay healthy, there's still a question mark a little bit for me for Connor Williams. In the center position, just making sure he gets those third down snaps down and make sure, he's not saying he's had a bunch of them, but you don't want to snap that over the quarterback's head or whatever. And then the thing I think people don't realize is if your offensive line is halfway consistent, Tua doesn't take some of those hits that we lost him for games at times. And I think, it was a big drop-off when Tua got hurt versus, backup coming in and snap. So it's a lot of key factors, and I always say everything starts up front. And for everything to start up front, we got to be better. But like you said, somewhere between 15 and 20, if they can get somewhere in there. And even with Joe Burrow having that type of line, they got on a roll late in the season and went to the Super Bowl. So up front, offensively and defense, that's where it starts. I know people pay attention to the skill position, all that stuff is sexy. That's the eye test, this and that. But we gotta be better up front. And if we can get somewhere like you two said, around 15, 20, I think we'll be in a much better shape than we were last year.
I'll tell you this much: if we get top 15 offensive line, we're going to the AFC Championship. I'm marking my words right now. And with this offensive line and with Joe Burrow specifically, look at Burrow. He got enough protection. He was terrible on his hot reads last year, getting killed in the playoffs off not making the proper hot reads. But that offensive line gave Joe Mixon the best running lanes he's had of his career, and he had a career season. Everyone ate off of it, and it was only 22nd. Dante, what are your expectations on the offensive line? I absolutely can't wait to hear this, knowing how much of a fan of Austin Jackson you are.
Yeah, I mean, I will just echo what everyone said, right? I mean, like, the bar is on the ground. So, as long as you can step over the bar on the floor, I think, you're doing a good job. No, like, truly, like, they were just awful.
You aren't wrong, bro. That's what's so funny.
But I think, just to kind of like diversify the conversation here, like, I think my biggest concern with this line is a lack of continuity with some of these players, right? Like, I have... let's take away how I feel about Austin Jackson as a football player. He is switching to right tackle. Like, even if he was good, right? Like, I worry about that. Liam Eichenberg, even if he was good last year, I worry about that switch to left guard. Connor Williams hasn't played center since, college or whatever, like his sophomore year at Texas or some shit. So he hasn't played there at all. Teron Armstead's barely practiced with this team. The only guy who's been there in the spot, going to practice every day, is Rob Hunt. And you know what? Rob Hunt is a perfectly adequate right guard, and that's fine. But I think that lack of continuity for me is where I start to see some problems. And then that even rallies into more problems, right? Because look, Teron Armstead's not playing every game this year. It's just not going to happen. He's never done it. Even in his best seasons, he's never played a full season. So it's not going to happen. You're going to have to live with the fact of him missing, let's just say, generously 2 games is probably like best case scenario. Worst case scenario is like more than 5. What do you do then? Is Austin Jackson the left tackle? I've seen that movie. Didn't like it. Am I putting Greg Little on the field at right tackle? Am I kicking Liam Eichenberg out there? Like, there's a lot of moving parts on this line. So for me, and, one of the benefits of my new full-time job is that I get to talk to a lot of people who played in the NFL. And Richmond, I'm sure you'll agree with this, like, continuity for these big guys up front is huge. And just getting the opportunity to understand and know what the guy next to you is good at, what he's bad at, and how you guys step, especially in an outside zone scheme. I don't know if the Dolphins are going to have that. I expect this line to get better as the season goes, as they start to work together and they get comfortable together. I would not be surprised if it's maybe not the best against the Patriots in week 1, and it kind of takes some time to come along. So, but I do agree with you guys. This is an improved line. I think they have a chance to be in that like 20 to 18, 15 range that you guys talked about. But my big concern right now is just like they haven't played together, a lot of moving parts, and I don't particularly love 2/5 of the line. So we'll see.
Continuity, Dante. They kept Lemuel Jean-Pierre in the building. What else do you want them to do, bro? Hey, they got a new water boy.
Look, I mean, they were so impressively bad last year. I got to hand it to them. I like truly, like, I did not realize you could do that bad of a job. So
and keep a job.
Yeah, even more impressive. Even more impressive.
You're not coaching Pee Wee right now.
All-time hustle.
Yeah, bro. BallGame, I know you like what Dante just said about them growing into it throughout the season, because that's been pretty much your mantra, that you think the offensive line is going to come together around like week 6, week 7, week 8. You'll start seeing it. What are your expectations?
Well, I'm going to stay in my lane, but I mean, I always talk about the same thing he talked about, which is continuity. And the only way they build that is working together and getting to truly know each other, being in the trenches. You know what I'm saying? The main guy they brought in is Armstead. He can technique them to death, and he can tell them all the things from an expert standpoint because he has the most experience and he's probably arguably the best guy playing the position right now, top 3 in the league. But until they all get to grind it all out together and things of that nature, it's just going to take some time. And that's why I'm going to stick to what I said, week 6, week 7. I think it'll finally come together, but they got to be in the trenches taking fire together. Saying with real live bullets going on around them for us to really get a real good understanding of what they're capable of. So I do believe that, third years generally been the charm for most of the guys that we've drafted. So I think Austin could be a little better. I don't necessarily think he could regress. So anything better than what we got last year is a plus. And if Armstead can give us 12, 13 games, I'm good with. At this point, I just think that it needs to just be one of these situations that they're really watching these guys carefully and watching the number of reps and things of that nature that he's taking on. And they have the same issues most teams have, you know what I'm saying? A guy go down, you just got to hope that the guy that's stepping in there can get trained up enough to be able to hold you until he can get back. So, adversity is one thing this team is going to need to be able to get through. So if it's going to start and be on the offensive line, then let that be a part of this 6-week process of them acclimating themselves to each other. And I'm okay with it. So I think they'll be better though. I give them, 21, 22. I think that's a reachable goal for them in the first year together. So with the first 6 being all about them getting to truly know each other. So
Neal.
No,
go ahead, bro.
No, so I before we hopped on here, I told you everyone my draft crush is Jalen Duncan, offensive tackle for Maryland. Well, college football just kicked off. Why the hell am I already watching left tackles? That should tell you that I have some serious concerns about the offensive line. And I think the best case scenario is probably what everyone's outlined here. 15 to 17. But the reality is, I do think they're going to struggle to start the season. That we're going to have to overcome. Them gelling together. And the guy that you need Eichenberg or Austin Jackson to become a quality starter for this to work. I really believe, and I circle and star the name Austin Jackson. He's not here, but we traded Minka Fitzpatrick for Austin Jackson, right? And you talk about return on investment. I mean that's brutal. And I hope that the things that I've heard about Austin Jackson slimming down, looking leaner, meaner, stronger, is what we see on the football field. But I have concerns about that, and I'm not going to sugarcoat it. My expectations is that the offensive line is probably the Dolphins' weakest unit on the entire roster. And one thing that I would say is that you never can count Christopher Greer out from looking at other teams' rosters and making a trade. And I just have a scenario out there where Baltimore here, because I'm here and I hear on the radio, they're desperate for pass rushers. I don't know if you saw the depth chart. Andrew Van Ginkel's not starting. There's many people that might think that he's the 4th-rated pass rusher on this team at this point. Well, Baltimore has an abundance of interior offensive linemen on their roster. Maybe there's something that could happen to improve this line down the road if we struggle out of the gates, because I don't think as a franchise we can afford this offensive line to cost us a fair evaluation of Tua, because if Tua doesn't perform at the level we want this year, right, that ship has sailed. The offensive line has to keep him upright. And, the thing that is frustrating with the line for me is when Tua has time, he is so damn cerebral. He has times to progress through his reads. He looks way better than when he's running, for his life, because Austin Jackson just laid somebody who's pass rushed him on the right side. But, hey, I do think they're going to be better. I mean, anytime you add a Taron Armstead, a Connor Williams to the fold, they're going to be a little bit better. We just need these young guys to pan out. And, I have to trust this coaching staff somewhat, because they did have opportunity to add veterans to this team. And they seemed hell-bent on making sure that Eichenberg was the left guard and Austin Jackson was the right tackle. So
let me ask you this, Neal, because we've talked about this before. And I brought this up, how everyone talks about McDaniel. Oh, he came in here and they said you got to get Tua right. And you know what I've always said, Neal? I think they looked at his list of coaching candidates, all guys who we hired and weren't really in talks with other teams. So all of his candidate lists, which they would have asked to see, all the guys that are hired were on that list. And they saw them. I think they looked at it and they said, hey, can you get Eichenberg and Jackson right? Because we got a lot invested in them. And if not, we move off of them after this year. Yeah, what do you think about that? Because how can you explain breaking up potentially the best left side in the AFC with Connor Williams and Terron Armstead? You can only explain it by their strings being pulled in politicking. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I think it's interesting. And, I don't know how much was demanded on Mike McDaniel, but anytime you spend high resources, right? A number 18 overall pick in the second round, you're going to, just like how Noah Igbinoghene still somehow on this roster, when you invest high draft picks, you got to give them a chance to pan out. And you're hoping kind of, I think, for a miracle if you think they're going to be anything better than a average NFL starter at this point. But, a lot of people underperformed under Brian Flores' team last year. And, we know how bad the assistant coaches and the coaching staff was. They see a lot more of this than I have a hard time believing that with the talent they have on the roster, that they would go in there with a complete mess of an offensive line and just – they've seen that story too. Like, Dougley, you said you saw that story, and Dante, you said you saw the story. They've seen it too, and I just have a hard time imagining them being okay with it. So, it's one of those things that, we're going to see them early. They're going to get tested. I mean, as inadequate as I think New England's roster is currently, they're going to come after Tua. Baltimore is definitely going to come after Tua. And hell, the Buffalo Bills are, right? You know what happened the last time, we saw AJ Epinesa come off the blind side. So we're going to know about this team quick. But they have to have – I think they already have to have conversations behind the scenes about a plan B if things – go awry quickly. That's my opinion.
Mm-hmm. Martin, your thoughts and expectations on the offensive line?
Yes, sir. Okay, I'm gonna say there's good news and bad news, everyone. Okay, I'll go with the bad news first. Bad news is that Teron Armstead, Liam Eichenberg, Connor Williams, and Austin Jackson all are traditional left tackles coming out of college. That's the bad news. That's the bad news. The good news is that they're all committed to being a professional. And I think that's the most important thing about this, because when we see our offensive line, everything is pretty much brand spanking new, outside of our consistency in Robert Hunt. But I think the commitment to what Mike McDaniel has pretty much unveiled as a perfect blocking scheme, right? Run blocking and obviously the run blocking that evolves naturally into a free flow, fluid, play action pass blocking scheme as well. I'm seeing this as a positive in the fact that there's a scheme in place that even though you have guys all over the place playing outside of their natural positions, if they're committed to each individual position's craft and they just follow along with what's being presented to them in the blocking scheme, it looks like what we saw against the Philadelphia Eagles, just a blocking extravaganza, and I'll tell you what, I'm gonna say that we're gonna be a bottom 8 team, out the gate as far as overall execution, continuity, cohesiveness, and blocking. But there's gonna be a point in time where the light's gonna switch across the board, and once that happens, I see us ascending game by game into a scenario where, okay, now we're top, a top 20, top 15 type of blocking team. And once you get to that point, the only thing that can hinder you from success after that is just injuries. And we're already anticipating that, like Dante said with Teron Armstead, you can almost guarantee it. He's not going to play 17 games this year, which is why I believe, having a coach like Mike McDaniel's OCD, Captain OCD, he already has plans in place for when each individual guy that's a starter right now goes down. Like, he already has his Jeopardy board of, okay, that happens, this is what's going to happen. That happens, this is what's going to happen. So I'm confident in the plan that we have in place. But start out the gate, I don't think it's going to be what I anticipate is going to happen near the end of the season or even by mid-season, as far as how good this offensive line can be once everyone gets things going collectively.
All right, we've talked about him a few times during this offensive line, obviously because he goes as the offensive line goes, as does the running game. Tua Tagovailoa, what is your expectation stat line wise for him this year? I've been on record saying I expect around 4,200 yards. I expect 28 to 32 touchdowns, and I expect 8 to 12 interceptions. He needs to clean them up from what he did last year, and I need to see him protect the football more like he did in his rookie season. So, with everything we've taken into account with the offensive line right now, what are your guys' expectations in terms of stat line for Tua Tagovailoa? You know what? We'll start again. We'll go from Doug down again. So go ahead, Doug.
So yard wise, 39 to 4,200. Essentially, I'm doubling what he did last year because I expect him to play the full season. If we want to really get a good understanding of who he is, he needs to play the full season. So about 39 to 4,200, about 34 touchdowns. Keep the interceptions the same, 10, because he had 10 last year. So if he could stay around there, that'd be good. Off the 17 starts, and again, stick around the 67 completion percentage. That's top 15 quarterback in the NFL, in my opinion.
Mm.
And what's crazy thing, Doug, is like, just annually, third-year quarterbacks, they usually get a little uptick in completion percentage. Like, we really could be dealing with a 70 to 71% completion percentage this year. I know it's ridiculous, but you really could be dealing with it, especially with how we're going to be scheming so much open space and open receivers too, right? So, yeah, man. Like, he could blow our, 4,200 yards realistically. Let's be honest here.
Conservative too. Like I doubled what he did
are.
last year.
Well, if you think about it, we are, bro. Because I mean, let's be honest. Waddle could go for 1,000 or 1,100, and the way Tyreek seems motivated, he could put up 14 or 1,500. That's like almost 2,500 yards between the two of them. I mean, that's just it, right? And we're getting crushed off that.
What I did was I looked at the top 10 passers last year, and number 10 passed for like 40 to 4,100 yards. So I'm like, Tua can definitely do that if he doubles his numbers. So that's where I got mine from.
Richmond, what are your expectations stat line wise for Tua?
I'm gonna go a little lower, and just by listening to the guys on the staff, I mean, I think he can hit that 4,200 weight, but I'm gonna say probably around 3,700. And the reason I'm saying that, like BallGame, Dante, Neal, Martin, they all kind of, if we kind of struggle those first 6 games, protection wise, that definitely could affect his numbers. But I wouldn't be surprised at all if he went for 42. But I'm gonna just go a little bit more conservative, and I think he can have 28 to 30 touchdowns, like you said, Waddle, Gesicki, the Cheetah. I mean, he's got the weapons, and if he get the ball and guys like Waddle and heel hands, I mean, one missed tackle, that's a touchdown. So interceptions, I don't know, but I'll say around 8 to 10 on that. I don't want him to throw no interceptions, but I'll say 8 to 10, somewhere around there. But that's kind of my thinking right now.
Dante, what are your expectations?
Per usual, I'm lower than the consensus, but I'm not too much lower. I'm with Richmond. I think like 3,700 is probably a realistic number, and it's like not really anything to do with Tua. I just don't think they're going to throw the ball that much. Like I really don't. Like I think Mike McDaniel wants to run the ball, even if the offensive line blows. I still think they're going to try and run the ball. I'll say like somewhere between 24 and 27 touchdown passes, and somewhere between 8 and 10 interceptions.
Would that be enough for you? That stat line?
It depends. I'm more of a what does the stat line look like a guy than the actual stat line. But we'll see. Look, if he throws 23 touchdowns, but there are 23 nice touchdowns, I'm not going to complain about it, frankly. Like for me, it's quality of those stats. But like I really think that the Dolphins are going to run the ball a lot, and they're going to try and run the ball a lot. And honestly, like I think that'll be good for Tua. They threw the ball a lot last year. They threw the ball more than I'm pretty sure any other team in the NFL, if I'm not mistaken, off the top of my head. So I think anything closer to a balance there is going to be helpful for Tua, even if he doesn't fully double his numbers from last year. I'm not saying that's not in the realm of possibility, right? Like maybe they just catch fire a couple of weeks and he just goes for 400 yards and he pushes that, that 4,000 yard mark. I'm just not sure he gets there because of how they're going to run this offense. But if he does, obviously it's a great sign.
I'm just going to throw this out there. Okay. So I was told, I actually sent Dougie the screenshot of the Patreon. I was told back on June, like beginning of June, end of May, that this offense and what we're looking to run is more of what they ran in Atlanta than San Francisco. I was told look more at what Matt Ryan did in a Shanahan offense than Jimmy G. They threw 47% of the time on first down, and they were more of like a 53, 47, 55, 45 split. I really don't think it's going to be that crazy. I think we're going to be throwing the football quite a bit here. I don't think they're going to be, I don't think we're going to see 15, 18 attempts a game type of stuff. I think we're going to be hovering around like 25 attempts per game. So I was told, look at Atlanta. And then this is the reason why I was told they're not going after Jimmy G. I was told they took stuff out of the playbook in San Francisco because of Jimmy G's limitations. And they've installed stuff here that they did in Atlanta, which is why they would not go trade for Jimmy G because they'd have to take that stuff out. So we'll see how it plays out. But Atlanta was, and again, Matt Ryan, we're not talking about a strong arm guy here by any stretch of the amount. He kind of got a pop gun arm a little bit. When you're talking about when you're talking about arm strength, Matt Ryan, it does not have a strong arm. You're not putting him in a top tier of the NFL, that's for sure.
So super accurate though. Yeah.
Super accurate, good ball placement, good anticipation, pretty high football IQ. That's basically what he was, right? So, and the thing is, the other interesting thing none of us have talked about yet, we have a speed element that none of these Shanahan offenses have ever seen before. Like they had the vertical threat with what's his face? Not Julio. Who was the other dude?
Judy?
No, for Atlanta, right?
Roddy White?
No,
it
wasn't Russell Gage, was it?
No, back in 2016.
Yeah, they had a speedster guy that they used to take the top off with.
He was like their third option though.
Yeah. I'm trying to remember
what's his name?
Because Julio was the 50-50 guy that could go vert. This was the guy that could take the top off.
What was it? Was it Gabriel?
Davis. It was Davis. It was Gabriel Davis, wasn't it?
He's with the Bills now.
No, Harry Douglas. Harry Douglas.
No, I think it was Gabe Davis.
Harry was fast, but
Gabe Davis
in the Super
is
Bowl,
like a second-year player.
Yeah,
he's
only been on the Bills.
Who was
not Gabriel Davis, but it was I think that was it. I think that's it. Taylor Gabriel. I think just 2016.
That's what it was. That was Taylor Gabriel.
Taylor Gabriel. Okay.
Yeah. Taylor Gabriel. Hold on, let me look it up.
Yeah, that dude. Yeah, he brought a different speed element to the offense.
That's where I got the Gabe thing mixed up.
Yeah.
Hold on, give me a sec, guys. Yeah, Taylor Gabriel. There
right.
Yeah. He's 25. That was their speed guy. They took the top off. Anyways, ball game, stat line prediction. Tua.
Well, based on the fact that I agree with Dante, they're going to be trying to do. I look at it from a different standpoint. So from a defensive standpoint, when you got two guys out there that can just flat out just kill you vertically up the field and Waddle and Hill, that changes a lot of what you have to do or what you do defensively to try to slow down that aspect and contain the run. And I think that there will be a heavy dose of the run game because of the fact that you can't just sit in base coverages, and you got to try to get some guys going to outthink themselves and trying to slow down Waddle and Hill, and that's going to open up more run lanes. And I think they're going to see a lot of success on the ground as much as they are in the air. And I think they're going to go early to trying to establish that to push secondaries back, get those safeties out of the box, and then move the linebackers around, and then, that opens up the run game. So I got Tua sitting at roughly about 38.50 to 39.50. And still off the play action game, pull it in roughly about 27 touchdowns with 8 interceptions. So that's why I'm sitting. I'm thinking a lot of what they're going to do in terms of success for him, long ball, mid ball, up the field is going to be based off of the fact that they're going to put a lot of effort into running the rock, and then that's going to open up the areas behind the linebackers. And then at the same time, you can't really walk guys too far down in the box because you got two guys that can run right by them. So they'll take their shots to, initially shock the system, and then that opens up the run lanes, because even then, linebackers got to play a little different too, because you get that 18 to 20 spot right behind that middle
Linebacker in
buck,
front of the
yeah,
safety.
middle buck zone, buck drop zone
Yeah.
that most linebackers sit in. That's going to make them pucker too. You see what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
and you want to get eaten up across the middle of the field at that 20-yard mark. I mean, that's going to chunk yardage. You see what I'm saying? So yeah. So
you ready,
50.
Dante? Now that intermediate level is going to open up, and Tua is going to go higher on Warren Sharp's accuracy rankings, bro. When that intermediate on target percentage goes up.
Don't even get me
Now
started. Don't even
Now
get me
what?
started. I don't want to hear about that at all.
Oh wow, man.
That was some bull. That was
man.
like real quick, real aside. I have no problem with Tua cracking that list. The rest of the list is my issue. I want that. I want that on the record. Any accuracy list that includes Jared Goff in the top 10 immediately needs to go in the trash.
Well,
Get out of here with that. Stop.
That's the same thing with the Ringer article, bro. Any article that has
they watched film. Warren Sharp looked at a spreadsheet,
Okay, hold on.
paste,
watched,
and then put it into a Fox News.
First of all, they're
template.
supposed to be ranking off of last year, right?
Mm.
Why is Trevor Lawrence 14? That's purely a projection. That's not a ranking.
Oh.
If Trevor Lawrence is the
ranking, it was one of their qualifications.
Marcus Mariota.
Hold on a second. Exactly.
Oh.
Geno Smith. What are we talking about? But let me tell you this right now. If Trevor Lawrence, I'm just saying this, and everyone knows how I feel about Mac Jones. Whack Jones. Everyone knows how I feel about him.
Who?
Whack Jones.
Mac Jones.
Yeah, Mac and Noodle Arm Jones, okay? If Trevor Lawrence is 14th overall, Mac Jones off last season is top 10.
Say that.
No.
Say that.
No.
Say based off of rookie performance outcome.
Yes, bro.
Yeah.
Trevor Lawrence only looked like a number 1 overall pick, funny enough, against us.
How much Jaguars football did you watch last year?
I watched a bit. I watched the game against us. I watched that one was against Cincinnati where they got up large in that first half.
Yeah.
I watched that
because like Trevor honestly made some like super absurd throw. We're getting way off the point here, but like Trevor was not as bad last year as those numbers would indicate. My point though is there's a difference between putting Geno Smith at 22 and in front of Tua and putting Jared Goff in the top 10. That's my.
Bro, they had Herbert at 3.
He should be the 3. I'll own that. He should be at 3.
Tom Brady threw for 5,200 yards last year and won a Super Bowl 2 years ago. How's he ahead of Tom Brady?
Herbert's nuts, man. Herbert's nuts. Look, putting Geno in front of 2 is awful. I'm not saying like we're arguing about two bad lists.
I agree.
We're arguing about two bad lists. I'm just saying Jared Goff in the top 10 is worse. I'll shut up now.
Yeah, I don't know. All right, stat line. The man with the golden tan from Bahamas, from the Barbados, Neal.
Yeah, so I have Tua at 41.67. So I actually literally sat down.
Oh, we went like down to the.
Yeah, I did. I went down every game and kind of came up with a number. So 41.67. I have him throwing 32 touchdowns. I actually have him throwing 12 interceptions. I actually have him throwing more interceptions because I think he's going to take some more shots. And I'm okay with those extra interceptions if he's pushing the ball downfield. And then I got him with his legs running 3 touchdowns as well. And one of the things that I've been kind of thinking about is like everywhere you look, me included, whenever you talk about the Dolphins, you talk about Waddle and Hill, and you watch on TV and everyone's talking about this. The one guy I haven't heard a lot about this whole preseason is Cedric Wilson, right? And the Dolphins paid him a decent amount. I think that one thing that we might be a little bit surprised of out of the gates is that Cedric Wilson might put up some bigger stats than even Waddle and Hill. I think that you don't want to show all your cards in the preseason. And, we all know that Waddle and Hill are going to be game-changing, dynamic wide receivers. I think Cedric Wilson could feast in this offense. And reason I'm with you, I think they're going to throw the ball a lot. I don't think they brought Tyreek Hill in here. I know that there's trends with coaching staffs, but like you nailed it. Like Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle is something, you rarely see, 2 players of that level of speed and burst on the, of that quality of a player too, not just guys that, ran a really fast 40 time at Indianapolis. These are both very good, developed, polished receivers. I think Tua is going to have a really, really good year. I'm not the guy that put $10,000 on him winning the MVP. I don't know if you guys saw that story come out, but I did put money on Tua winning MVP of this league. And,
So did I.
as a Dolphins fan and I would love for that to hit for my bank account as well. But I actually think we're going to see play that is as good as any quarterback we've seen in, 15, 20 years here in Miami. That's my expectation this year.
Technically, we're only 200 yards off on the difference in the yardage. So
right. Yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited. I think Tua's got that swagger, and everyone thinks that's kind of just a made up thing. Man, in anything you do in life, right? Like when you're confident, it goes better, right? Like, you go to a job interview and you actually feel the job and you want it. I've had those job interviews like, I'm actually okay if they don't give me the job. Well, I'm probably stuck on that job interview. You know what I mean? And when you have a boss or a coach that doesn't believe in you, man, that can kill your soul, right? Like that can kill your soul. I've told you this reason on our podcast. I think Tua Tagovailoa is going to come away being one of the biggest stories of the season. And I think that's going to be a really good thing for a franchise that's starved for it. And look, man, I think it's going to be one of the best stories that, obviously I'm a homer, I'm a Dolphins fan, but I was a Tua fan before I was a Dolphins fan, and I don't give a shit if you can throw the ball 75 yards, man. Like, you go win me a game, get me to the playoffs, win a playoff game. You've done something I haven't seen in 20 years, man. And, we're all big Dolphins fans here, man. I don't know about you. When I talk to my friends here locally and I have to hear about 2 Super Bowls that the Ravens won, and my team hasn't even won a freaking playoff game since Lamar Smith ran for 225 or whatever against the Colts. Man, it's a lonely island that you're on. You know what I mean? And my goal in my life is I want to see one freaking Lombardi up in the air with a Dolphin player holding it before I die. And I just hit 40, man. And I hope I live another 40. But I don't want to wait till I don't want to wait till I'm 80 to see that. I want that to happen soon. And honestly, I feel like you never know if you get in the dance. I'm not one of those guys that's going to tell you the Dolphins are the best team in football and they're going to go 14-3. I'm not that insane. I'm insane, but I think the fundamentals and the foundation of good team building is something we're seeing. And to be frank, I don't know the last time I've seen that here. So I'm excited about Tua and this team.
Martin.
Yeah,
let him know how, because he met up with Drew Brees, Tua's going to put up 5K, 50 touchdowns, and win the MVP. Let him know.
He had to sit down with the Godfather. Yeah, man. I'm gonna give you a little bit of pushback reason on. I'm going to use my EM voice. I'm gonna give you a little pushback on, but honestly, man, I think the identity of this offense early is gonna be running the football. I truly believe Mike McDaniel is really gonna emphasize this early and often. And with the acquisition of Alec Ingold, that's just cherry on top. Exactly what we're gonna do offensively, at least early in this season. We want to establish an identity. And I think running the football would be the best option to do so, considering that last year, like Dante said, we were literally one of the highest passing attempt offenses in the league, when clearly we did not have the right pieces in place to even attempt half of the attempts that we tried last year. So I think our identity is going to be run the ball first, and I think Tua is going to graduate from the primary identity of running the football into a play action pass game. Find guys open that behind defensive players that's going to bite, and eventually he'll turn into that drop back passer. But I'm still curious as to the stat line of what we're going to see, because I don't think Tua is going to crack 65% completion percentage, not because he's not accurate. I think like Neal just said, he's going to take some more shots, bro. He's going to take deeper shots. I think he's going to take more tight window shots. I think he's going to be more aggressive with one-on-ones. And because you're taking those type of shots, there's a high likelihood that the pass will be incomplete just based off of the just the averages. And so as far as completion percentage, I think it's going to be in the lower 60s. I think yards wise, he's going to, I think at most get 3,900 yards, considering we're going to run the ball a lot this year. I'm seeing us run for over 1,600 yards this year collectively as an offense. And I think Tua can crack 3,900 yards at the most if we're doing that good offensively running the football. And as far as touchdowns, I'm with Dante. I don't necessarily care if it's between 23, 25, 28, the quality of touchdowns, the times when the touchdowns were thrown, whether it be fourth quarter or 2-minute offense just before the half. I think the timing of the touchdowns is going to be more important than the finishing stat line. And if Tua throws 12, 13, 15 interceptions this year, I'm cool with it if it's going deep and into harm's way to see if his players can make a play for him. So let's see what happens, man.
I just got to say, though, because I know what you're talking about with your completion percentage. He's been a top 3 aggressive thrower every year he's been in the NFL. So you're not going to see much of a leap in terms of window aggression because he's still around like 22% of his throws are aggressive throws. So that's like top 2, top 3 in the NFL. This is real simple. I'm not even going to answer it. I'll just let y'all go. Do you trust Josh Boyer? Do you believe him that he said he was the primary play caller in 2020? What is your thoughts on what happened last year? Do you believe it was Gerald Alexander and Brian Flores that stepped in? Here's the thing, because this is going to be a big thing, guys, because we're all expecting no drop-off in that defense, and we're not expecting the same defense we saw in that win streak, but we're expecting damn near close to it. So, simple question, because now he has the rain. There's no Flores safety net. There's nothing. Do you guys trust Josh Boyer?
No. I'm sorry.
We'll see.
I do. And I'll tell you why.
Neal, you're on mute.
Yeah, sorry, I was sneezing over here. How much do you really need to trust him? I mean, honestly, do I think he's going to be an adequate defensive coordinator? I mean, if you look at this defense, they brought everyone back, and they've added, a Melvin Ingram. They've added Trey Flowers.
Love it.
We could talk about all these coaches' schemes, weather, schedule. At the end of the day, the one thing that I think is the most important ingredient in football is talent, right? And I think Josh Boyer has proven to be an adequate coach. I think, look, Brian Flores had his warts, but he was a really great defensive mind, right? I'm hoping that Josh Boyer took a lot of that and has it under his belt, but I don't want him to be a copycat of Brian Flores. I think that you make the defense unique, you make it yours. But the reason I think he's going to have a good season is because I think we have 2 players that are destined for stardom in Javon Holland and Jalen Phillips. And I think those 2 guys taking the next step are going to make him look like a really, really good defensive coordinator. And, I am concerned Byron Jones is going to miss 4 games, especially when we're playing the Bills during that stretch.
Okay, so doesn't that give you concern that Josh Boyer is basically saying to him, hey, we'd rather lean on Noah Benogany and Kadir Kahu than go out and get Joe Hayden or Charles Harris?
No, you know why? I think Brian Flores was also very stubborn, and I think Josh Boyer is going to be able to pivot and adapt a little bit more, right? Brian Flores, that one game when Noah Benogany was forced in against Buffalo, I mean, we all sat on our couch sitting there like, holy crap, how many more 30-yard passes is this dude going to give up to Stephon Diggs before they go and send him some help, right? But Brian Flores never did. He kept him on an island all day with Stephon Diggs, and it was embarrassing. I have a lot of faith in the players on the defense. I would say that, I don't think Josh, Boyers is going to be an NFL head coach in this league. But I think he's going to push the right buttons enough. I think the key is to keep that aggressive nature to this defense. Make plays on the ball. You might bend a little bit. You might give up some yardage on the ground, because let's not act like we have the monsters in the midway in the middle of our defensive linebacker, right? But I think that the way you make up for giving us some plays on the ground and yards on the ground is you turn the ball over. You have Xavier Howard. I say he's the best ball hawk that I've seen in the secondary since Ed Reed. You have Javon Holland, who's Javon Holland might be my favorite player in this league right now, man. I went back and watched tape on him, and I was sitting there like, dude, I'm falling in love here, I think those plays that were near sacks last year, right? Like, how many times did Jalen Phillips almost come home? And I think he's going to turn that into production. I think this defense is going to be fun. I don't think it's going to be anywhere near like the 2000 Ravens elite that we don't give up, any yards and, we can ride it to a Super Bowl, but I think it's going to be a top 10 unit in the league.
Doug?
Yeah. And it's funny too, because we have to think, in 2020, obviously the consensus was Josh Boyer was calling the plays, and the 2020 defense was pretty good. It's the reason we won a lot of those games. And then the 1-7 start, it was that Josh Boyer. Was Josh Boyer like? And again, Neal hit the nail on the head with the stubbornness. It's like, did Josh Boyer want to change things up? Did Josh Boyer at some point want to be like, this isn't working? And then Flores was like, no, we should really stick with this because it'll eventually work. Because we heard it from Xavier Howard and we heard it from Jerome Baker after the Texans game when Xavier Howard said we went back to that 2020 defense, and Jerome Baker, when he was moved back to his original position, started doing well. He said essentially the same thing. So it's like, who was at fault for the 1-7 start, and then who gets praised for the change after the 1-7? So I for me, I have to see it to believe it with Josh Boyer. But Josh, if it's true that Josh Boyer was calling the defense in 2020, I think we'll be fine.
Sorry, I'm right there with you. I gotta believe it to see it without that safety net we know he's had, right? Dante, and then BallGame.
My issue with the defense is I think Neal made a really good point. I like the players, right? Like you like Xavier Howard, you like Javon Holland, you like the development from Jalen Phillips. Christian Wilkins has gotten better every year that he's been in the league, right? Like he could take a really big jump this year.
Dante, would you say this is the best front we've had even throughout the and I'm talking about like the front five because our outside linebackers are edge players. Would you say this is the best front we've had even throughout the Flores regime, especially when it comes to stopping the run?
Yeah, I mean, I think if the guys progress like we think they're going to progress, then yeah, I think you're right there. My concern with this defense is I know that they can beat the teams that they're supposed to beat. Like I want to see them go out there and hold Josh Allen to 17 points and 189 yards. Like honestly, I think like everyone, I think there's been so much conversation about who made the switch on the defense last year. Like, honestly, they played crap quarterbacks for pretty much the entire back half of the season. And like, I don't want to be like, I don't want to come off as a hater or that, I think that this defense is bad, because neither of those things are true. I think this Dolphins defense is good and they've got a ton of talent. But like, I mean, they just had a bunch of games handed to them on a platter. I mean, they could have rolled out their third string and beat Ian Book on Monday Night Football. I mean, give me a break. So like, I don't know how much credit I want to give anybody for that backstretch. I mean, it's impressive in its own right, but also like, I think I'm with Doug and with you, Reason, too. Like, I need to see it. I need to see it from Josh Boyer, but I also want to see it against a good team. I want to see them go out there and really lock up a good quarterback. I know they got the better of Lamar Jackson towards the back half of the season, but like, the Ravens kind of hobbled into that game. It was a Thursday nighter.
What were your thoughts on what were your thoughts on the second meeting with Josh Allen? We held him pretty well. It was just it was
better. It was better, right? So like you hope that let's roll that into this year, that early season matchup this year, and let's see it. But like again, like I want to believe it. I want to see, you know what, that's progress at the end of the year. But like, I'm sorry, like Buffalo has just torched us too much under Josh Allen. That's something that I got to see to believe. Like that's just that's where we're at right now. So that's my concern with this defense. And I think that Boyer has to make changes because you can't just come out here in the NFL right now and run 3 years of the same stuff. Like it's not going to happen. You'll beat Davis Mills, Tyrod Taylor, all those backups they played last year with that.
Do you think that's why he was trying to blend in the zone last year more?
Maybe. Yeah, like maybe. And like honestly, I don't hate it. Like I really don't. Like conceptually I don't hate it, but if it's not working, it's not working. You got to go away from it. So I'm with you guys. Got to see it to believe it. But the talent's there, right? Like the players are present for this to be a really, really good defense from week 1 to week 17. Just need to see it.
BallGame.
Yeah, man.
Let us know.
I don't have a problem with Boyer because I've seen him over the course of the last year and even into this preseason go out and attempt to do exactly what I said they needed to do to spell themselves and to take some pressure off the back end guys by implementing zone. And if you don't ever run it, you never get good at it. And a lot of times, once teams have seen that you can do all of that zero stuff, they start to go different routes to figure out a way to beat it. And it's not really that hard to beat it, especially when you got we got teams that can actually implement motion and things of that nature and
Yep.
get guys off their platform or get guys moving, and they can't be as aggressive at the line of scrimmage. And that's what we saw a lot of time with the Buffalo guys, and that's why Needham had such a bad game, because they were moving his guy, right? And his guy was in motion, and when the guy's in motion, you can't really get a clean jam on him and things of that nature. So the fact that he started implementing more zone coverages and more zone looks tells me that he's already prepping these guys for what's coming down the line, because, you know, at the end of the day, teams can and will eventually figure out how to beat what you do best. So implementing, you know, the stuff that I've seen him do, I'm comfortable with that. There's some foresight and understanding that they got to be better in the other elements as well.
And zone can allow, and like the more zone you run and you keep teams honest with, you can disguise out of too.
Yes.
It allows you to do more stuff, even in your man stuff. So getting better at it, 110%. I agree with you, BallGame.
I think the guy still wants to make a name for himself too. So,
well, I know you were real hyped up about how he was running up along the sideline when we gave up that late running touchdown. And you loved what you saw from him in terms of like a passing standpoint, bro. You know, see, the thing is, I agree with Dante and Douglie wholeheartedly that I got to see and believe it. But when you see something like that in preseason, when it's like third and fourth stringers out there, at least I know he's going to give, like, at least I know it looks like he's going to give it his all. It's not going to be one of those things where if it don't work out, he's just going to turn into a bitter coach and we're going to have an issue with him. You know what I mean? Like, I agree with these guys that you got to see him to believe it, but I do agree that you can see early on that Josh Boyer's putting it on because he knows. I think it's same thing with Tyreek, guys. Same thing with Tyreek. Tyreek's, I'm telling you, he's telling Tua, yo, these motherfuckers think Patrick Mahomes made me and they think I'm going to suck with you. Let's go show them what fucking time it is. Same thing with Boyer. I think he's saying these people think I'm going to fall on my face now that Flores and Gerald Alexander's left, because that was a little bit of the narrative that was being spun. So I'm going to show these guys, because here's the thing. We go back to the zone coverage, and Dante said something with timing, right? That Atlanta game, boys. Tua left that field with that lead, dug himself out of the hole, and they decide to go in zone and give the middle of the field to Kyle Pitts all the way. You know what I'm saying? Like, as much as people want to sit here and say Tua blew that Tennessee game, and I contended them, only Duke Johnson got off the bus for that game. Okay. Just like the Bills game we lost, we're winning in. AVG was the only one who got off the bus for that game. All right. When you look at that, guys, Jacksonville, Atlanta, either one, if our coaching staff finishes off either one of those games, we're in the playoffs last year.
Facts.
But no one wants to talk about that. They just want to sit there and put, like, you know, guys, and this is why
because it's easier to blame the quarterback.
But I'm up here with some smart, logical football minds right now, okay? Do you realize people still blame that Atlanta loss on Tua? Oh, well, he threw 2 picks. But, bro, he left the field with the lead, and all of you people, I'm not saying you guys, a lot of these Tua haters, what do they say? Oh, the defense led him the way. We got a championship defense, but Tua's holding us back, right? So where was the championship defense and the championship defensive coaching staff in the final 3 minutes when we had the lead? Someone tell me this.
That's what I was saying is, like, I want to see it against a good quarterback. And like, you know, Matt Ryan is good. You gave Matt Ryan a little bit too much time and the defense couldn't hold him. Like, no, like, truly, like, Matt Ryan's a good quarterback, and he just went down the field and he picked them apart.
Yeah.
I want to see it against good quarterbacks. This defense is good enough to beat the bad quarterbacks. I don't care about that. Go out there, beat Josh Allen, beat the Matt Ryans of the world, those players, and then we can talk about championship level defense. That's just my opinion.
They're going to have to be good quarterbacks this year, that's for sure. I mean, so Martin, Richmond, do you guys trust Josh Boyer from a defensive standpoint?
Yeah, I do. I think, you know, everybody kind of touched on some good points. So I really don't have to come up with anything, but just listen to everyone else. Like you said, I think the energy and with the coaching staff, the team and everything is different now that Flores is gone. And it is a possibility that maybe he wanted to work on zone and stuff like that, like BallGame said. But like you said, if you get a stubborn head coach or whatever, and you got to go with what they do, and a lot of time that stuff is not going to lead the facility and stuff like that. So I think it takes pressure off the defense because I think our offense will be way more productive. So if the time of possession goes up for the offense, that's less time for the defense to be out there. So it kind of works hands in hand. And if they play like they've done the last 2 years and everything, we get more production out of the offense and stuff like that, time of possession, being able to run the football and stuff like that, like Martin, everybody kind of said, it's definitely going to help the defense and it's going to help their numbers. And like you said, I think Neal said with Jalen Phillips and these young guys just continue to develop, they're getting better and better. And, we had almost 10 sacks. So if he get 2 or 3 more, and it could be, I think we have a really good team. So I'm a little bit more optimistic and say I trust him, and I think it's going to work out. So we just wait and see.
People need to realize on a more limited snap count and basis, Jalen Phillips had a better rookie season than Chase Young. Don't know what else to tell you. Martin.
Yeah, I said no, from the initial, knee jerk. just because. No, but I will say I am leaning more towards I'll see it when I see it. And Dante mentioned it early on, about the offensive line's bar is so low that all they have to do is just, hopscotch over and okay, that's pretty good. But in the defensive case, I think the bar has been set so high for them. I'm more curious as to how Boyer's going to handle this, because again, every time you hear everyone talk about the Miami Dolphins, the saying is, "Oh, the Dolphins are a championship team if they can get the quarterback right." That's all you keep hearing. So when you say that, you're saying we have a championship defense, and you're saying that our defense can hang with anybody. But again, how we keep going back to it, can they stop the primetime quarterbacks? Can they stop Josh Allen? Can they stop Lamar Jackson?
When
Can they stop
in the fourth? Yeah.
Can they stop Aaron Rodgers? Right? Can they make that happen? Because if that can happen,
find out, Martin. Merry Christmas, bro. You're about to find out if they can stop Aaron Rodgers.
It's gonna get real quick, man. So if we do have that type of caliber of a team or defense, I'm waiting to see it, man. And if Josh Boyer can actually facilitate that for us, then okay, I'm a believer. But right now, there's still a lot of skepticism.
I'm gonna tell you this right now. He's gonna get job offers if we come out and we have a top 10 defense and Flores is gone. Boyer's gonna be a hot name next offseason. Mark my words, because he'll have proven I did it without Flores. Now, whether he gets a job, that's a different discussion for a different day. But he will be in the running. I can almost guarantee you that. So watch, guarantee, especially with the teams on our schedule. I mean, like you go in and our defense shows up on Thursday Night Football against the Cincinnati Bengals. If we finally beat the Bills this year, I'm gonna tell you, you're gonna hear. All right, so let's get into predictions right here. We'll go game by game. As you see here, it's gonna get real interesting. We skipped the bye week is not up there. There's no need for the bye week, so I don't want to hear comments or I don't want to get DMs about you didn't put the bye week on the graphic. Well, we don't need the bye week on the graphic, all right? So, all right, week 1. It's pretty much a general consensus amongst all of us that they get the dub. I mean, what else is there to explain here? I mean, I think they're gonna smash them. I know there's people out here, you guys have talked about, you expect the offensive line, it might be a close game. I think we're going to straight up smash them. Guys, when I'm reading on Twitter, New England reporters saying he looks like he's regressed in this offense, Mac Jones, compared to last year, how they look like a disaster blocking-wise with the zone scheme they're in now. I think we're going to light them up. I just think it's going to be a wrap. I think, sure, Matt Judon might have, a decent game for their team. But overall, I believe we're going to be able to run the football against them. Now, that doesn't mean I think we're going to put up 160 yards, but I think we'll be able to keep them honest with the run game. And I think we're just going to obliterate their offense. If you really want my honest opinion, DVP ain't going to do Jack Bo Diddley. All right. We already know the training camp stories of when Xavier Howard early on in DVP's years was giving him the work and DVP was turned into a crybaby. He's going to get that tenfold. I look at that, I look at their offense right now. Does Matt Patricia as a play caller worry anyone in this league?
No.
You know what I mean?
Lord.
That's the first guy you want to be a play caller in the league when the pressure is on and the game means something. So I think we shellac them, boys. I'll give my prediction on Friday when I do my preview show, but I think we give them the work, and to put it kindly, I think, we bend them over the table. So any general thoughts before we move on to the first real split in this?
This is the game they should win. They got to win this game.
Yeah.
They got the talent. The Patriots have no corners. They have no wide receiver. You can't come out home 100-degree weather and lose this game. You just can't.
Okay.
Well, and reason a fun stat here is that when the Dolphins win, I'm not going to say if, when the Dolphins win this game, and Tua Tagovailoa's record is 4-0 against Bill Belichick, he's the only quarterback in NFL history who started their career 4-0 against Bill Belichick.
And this is the first time in the Bill Belichick era that they are entering a game with the Miami Dolphins as the underdog.
Yeah, I'm with you, Reason. I think we smash them too.
I really do. I think it's gonna be bad for them. I love it.
Well, I'm worried about Byron Jones not playing. If I'm a Patriots fan, I'm worried about any corner on
Needham
our team
can do
playing.
it. Who's Needham really got? What is that? Born kid? What does Needham really got to worry about right now?
Well, I'll say this.
I
The one guy that would concern me if I had to pick a guy is Jacoby Myers against whoever we have playing in the slot. If Needham's on the outside, I'm guessing Keon Crosson's probably going to be on the field.
I trust Keon Crosson's athleticism to keep up with him.
And I like Keon Crosson. I just hope that we do not see number 9 out there at all.
Lord.
Knock it off, man. Knock it off.
Hey, BallGame, you better listen to him.
It's the third year. It's the third year. The dude, he'll be fine, man.
Oh, yeah. No.
Listen to him, BallGame. Listen to him.
If you ain't never been out there on the island, you ain't never had to
They're
go
not putting him in the
reverse.
slot.
Yeah. If you ain't never had to do it, you don't understand how difficult it is. I'm just sick of people knocking that kid, man. It's hard. It is extremely difficult. It is extremely difficult to play cornerback, especially in the NFL.
Right. I'm with you.
3 years. This is the third year, right? For a guy that never really played it, right?
Right.
And they have to see something in him that they held on to him. Otherwise,
the collector's coming, BallGame. The collector is coming, BallGame.
Yeah, you ain't gonna be able to do it. I'm telling you right now. He gonna change.
I waited 3 years for a pass breakup in the preseason, bro.
Well, hey, people were ready to get rid of Christian Wilkins last year too until he ended the season. Right?
But Christian Wilkins at least flashed.
They were calling him a bust
on.
too. But people were calling him a bust too.
Bro, the only thing is flash is the Gatorade bottle.
Well, when he gets a pick six against Josh Allen, the Bills to seal in week 3, I'll buy the bronze to get the statue out front of the stadium. Okay,
there we go.
There
we go. He's gonna play. He's gonna play. We gotta have faith in him. He's gonna play.
I'll tell you right now, he's not. He's not starting.
Not this year. Not Sunday. Not Sunday. But at some point this year,
you're in year 3, and there's injuries galore going on. If you're not starting, I'm gonna tell you this right now. If True Williams and Byron Jones weren't hurt, he's not on this team. Kadir Kahoo's higher on the depth chart than him. I'm telling you right now.
They're not getting rid of him. They're gonna turn him around. Watch. All he really needed.
BallGame. That's all I worry about.
All he really needed to do. I told you this. All he really needed to do was just reach out. I could have got him. I could have got him straight. Guaranteed.
The guy's got, bro. The guy's Stevie Wonder when the ball's in the air. Okay, no one's gonna fix that.
Nah, that's fixable. There's drills for that too.
Oh no.
Yeah. Well, I know, and he's been working out, bro. The guy's the Jakeem Grant of cornerbacks. You see him work out with X and everyone. He's got his cool shades on in the preseason. Then the regular season happens. He's a deer in headlights. I don't know, bro. We'll see. We'll see. All right. So, anyways. We get the W because Noah Benogany stays on the bench. We come to that.
You had to do it, huh?
All right, week 2. BallGame. We're coming back to you, bro. What's going on here, dude? The Watch Mister donated $4.99 just to say that he's a better cornerback than Noah, and he's not exaggerating. Come at me.
Hey, man.
All right. So,
listen, what do they really have other than Lamar? who really ain't got no reason to really be
I think they
motivated.
upgraded
Considering the fact that they don't. What do they have? They don't have.
I
They don't
think-
have a guy to
I
take the
think
top
Rashad
off.
Bateman's
Well-
going to be a beast this year. I think
Right.
they added
They
Mike
got
Davis in the
Andrews.
backfield. I think they have a
Yeah.
decent running even without
It-
JK. And bro, I'm going
Yeah.
to say this: that revenge season.
Uh-huh.
And I got to say this too. We were talking about the scheming and stuff earlier, boys.
I'm not
Remember,
scared of Baltimore, bro.
they figured us out in the fourth quarter, but it was too little, too late when they figured out the zero and how to beat us. It was just too late in the game. I think they done had this game circled on the calendar. That's why
I think
Well, that's good, but it ain't gonna do them no good.
Well,
I mean,
yeah,
listen, I'm okay standing out here on the island by myself. I don't believe in them. I'm not afraid of Lamar Jackson, bro. He does not fear. Lamar Jackson does not scare me one bit. Not with the athleticism we have up front. Not. I don't.
yeah,
Defense
no,
will win this game, bro. I'm sorry. Y'all can feel how y'all want to feel about it, but I'm riding with us on this one.
Well, I think it's a coin flip, and I can tell you, on the way home from work today, I was listening, and they were talking about Ronnie Stanley and how he's probably not going to be back till like week 4. And the host was like, "Well, I'm not worried about it against the Jets," but he's like, "Miami kicked our ass last year. You know, if we don't have Ronnie Stanley for that game, I'm nervous about it." It's kind of the summary of what he said. But you asked the question, ball game, and I'll say they have John Harbaugh, who's the pettiest MFer in the NFL.
Yeah,
And trust me, man, I think they win their division this year just because of what the Bengals did to them last year. I'm with you. I think Lamar is a good football player.
Yeah, I'm with you. He doesn't scare him. Lamar doesn't scare me either. Like, it's what Neal said.
Yeah,
I think Harbaugh's been sitting on this game for some time, saying, "I'm getting."
Bro, he
these
just
guys."
all he did was get back what he gave to us. Like what? Sometimes you walk into somebody's household. I mean, he walked in our front door and basically punched us in the mouth, and then we just basically returned the favor. He turned around.
You ain't wrong.
He was walking around the corner. He was walking down the street, turned the corner, and there we were. Bam! Same thing. So he got back what he gave us.
But I think Neal's right. I think the two pettiest coaches in the NFL, I think, are Sean McVay, and I don't think it's a bad thing from Sean McVay. I think he's petty in the sense of he will break down what you run against him and beat him with, and then he'll try and beat you with that type of stuff. Like you saw what he did with the Ravens when he saw how much motion at the snap they were doing. They were the number one. They were the number one team in the league 2 years ago, and motion at the snap were the Ravens. They beat the hell out of the Rams that year. They couldn't run the football 2 years ago. Last year, they became the second best team in the NFL running motion at the snap, and then the running game came back. So I think what Neal said, I think Harbaugh, I think he's been sitting there waiting for this one, bro.
He won't put on. He won't put on one pair of cleats, and he ain't gonna put on a helmet. And our rosters look way better than theirs, and I'll bang on our roster against theirs any week. So,
well, I'll say this: is the last time we played in Baltimore, it was a Thursday nighter, and I don't know if you remember, we lost 44-0, and it was the game that sent Jay Ajayi to the Philadelphia Eagles for a 4th-round pick. So I woke up hung over in a hotel room in Baltimore and had to get 100 text messages from everyone in Baltimore talking about how they beat down the Dolphins. And then I look at my phone and Jay Ajayi's gone for a 4th-round pick, man.
It's a bad 48 hours, bro.
But I do think I agree with BallGame. I actually think it's a game we can win. I think it's a game we should win. I just think that John Harbaugh does have a great coaching staff, and that team will be prepared. And I do think they're going to be on a revenge tour, but it's not like I think we're going to go in there and lose 30-0 or something. I think it's going to be a tight game. I just think that, us historically in Baltimore, hasn't been good, but this is a different team. So it's going to be really interesting to see.
Hey, Doug. I see you moving your head. I see you holding the mic. What do you got, Doug?
Me?
Doug, yes.
It just worries me. Like Neal was saying, like everyone's saying with the whole like revenge, because we embarrassed them on national TV. Like we
sure did.
Lamar could do,
and they didn't embarrass us.
They definitely did.
Well, yeah,
2019.
back in 2019 when
week
we couldn't
1
do anything, but I could see us winning this game. But if I had to choose, like I obviously did, I going into Baltimore is a horse of a different color. If it was home, I'd probably put a W there. But it's the fact that we have to go into Baltimore. That's the only reason I put the L there.
Well, here's the thing. The thing for me, right? in order to beat a man, you got to beat the man.
Mhm.
And it don't matter how many times I can beat your ass in my backyard.
Woo.
If I come to your house and take you in your backyard and beat you in front of your wife and your kids, now I own you. And that's what this team has to do. So I'm going to ride with the concept that they're going to go out there and they're going to kick their ass. That's it. Simple and plain.
Bro,
Like,
all I
you
can think
can't.
about.
I'm just saying, you can't beat
You're
it.
wild, bro. All I could think about was Cannabis going off on LL Cool J on Third Round KO about beating him in front of his family, his firstborn, and Mr. Farrakhan. Like, you wild, bro. Like, beat the man in front of his whole family.
Yeah.
By the way, if you ever see Mr. BallGame in a Home Depot, turn the other way. All right. I'm going to let Dante kick this off. So,
Well,
me,
this is-
Richmond, Doug, and BallGame have a W. You, Neal, and Martin have an L. You don't believe we can beat. Well, I mean, you want to see us beat.
Yeah,
you know,
this
a big
is my I have to see it to believe it thing, and this is the
Mhm.
problem with trying to pick the entire season before it starts. Is like, yeah, maybe they come out and they play really well against Buffalo, and then I switch the later game because I had them losing twice to Buffalo. Like it's just a bad matchup. Like once I see it, I'll be there. But like I'm very much I don't know if it's like the the air quotes scouting background, but I'm like very much the like. I need to see it. It needs to be there on film for me to witness it before I believe it. So that's where I'm at with this. Like, if they play a really close game here, and obviously if they win, but like, this is not like I think they're going to get blown out by Buffalo, or I don't think that they can beat Buffalo. Like, I just want to see it on paper before I put my faith in it. And like, honestly, like, when I sat down, I was like, okay, this is a 10-win football team. And then I got them to 10 wins. Like I didn't sit down and go game by game. I was like, this is a 10-win football team. These are the 10 games I think they're most likely to win. I still think it's a bad Buffalo matchup. We'll see, though. I think they can get them this year. I just want to see it first.
Mm-hmm.
We're losing to Baltimore, but beating the Bills. Doug, BallGame, Richmond.
That sounds rhetorical.
Well, again, for me, we're home against Buffalo.
Yeah.
They don't have Tre'Davious White. It's
Mhm.
gonna be hot as balls versus
Agreed.
going to Baltimore. That's my only thing. Again,
Boom.
BallGame, you could say what you want about beating somebody in their own house. I don't know. I don't see him doing it in Baltimore. But I could see him doing it home in Buffalo.
But they have
Especially
to.
with the
That's the whole
addition
point.
of Melvin Ingram, especially with the addition of Trey Flowers, and they brought these guys in to get after Josh Allen. So I honestly think that this is a win.
If this team is going to achieve any level of success in the postseason, we're not guaranteed to be home.
Mhm.
They need to start learning how to win on the road now. That's why I took him. I took them to pull the upset. I didn't think a lot of people would. Like you said, I'm the only lone one there. But I do believe that they'll have some major success early because a lot of teams that we're playing early, they're still figuring out the nuances of the new pieces that they added to their offenses and defenses as well. The only difference is we don't have a lot of stuff that we changing on defense.
Yeah.
I feel like the defense is going to have to carry us the first 6 weeks.
Mhm.
But I believe that these are good matchups for us in regards to who we're playing against. So, I don't know. I mean, call me a homer, but I believe that we can win those first 3, and then you'll see what happens from there.
Well, BallGame.
Go ahead.
BallGame. If they start off 3-0, and I mean, like, and I don't honestly.
Neal's streaking through the streets naked in Baltimore.
Well,
If we start off 3-0.
I mean, I don't know if there'd ever be a time in my life that I've been more excited about a Dolphins football team. I really don't know if there would be a time. I mean, look, I grew up in the Marino era. I loved them. Richmond, I thought you guys were going to get one. And, I'm not even going to talk about Pete Stoyanovich, man. Like that
everyone talks about him.
That was one of the worst freaking days of my entire life. And I'm not kidding. This is a guy who missed his grandmother's funeral to watch the freaking Monday night meltdown against the Jets, right? So, I think if they start 3-0, man, I mean, you got to start thinking like, good Lord, look at that schedule.
Yeah.
I mean, then the expectations just change drastically. It goes from I'm happy with the playoffs. Then
AFC Championship.
and I don't want to put the cart before the horse here, but you start 3-0, and then you're starting to say, does this team have the magic that the Cincinnati Bengals had last year? I mean, that's what it says to me.
Right.
It's a
Speaking
big
of the Bengals, I got us going in there and walk. I think they're going to have a Super Bowl hangover. I got us walking in there and beating them. Richmond, BallGame have us taking that L. Dante, he's got us beating his first legitimate quarterback. Neal's got the dub. Martin's got the dub. Richmond, you played for the Bengals. You played for the Dolphins. Explain yourself, sir. What side are you really on? Take that shirt off. I know what's underneath that.
Now, the thing I look at is, it's hard sometimes for me, even though I think we may lose. I knew I had to pick some losers. So I just figured, like, with the offensive line coming together and being on the road, I figured, that in the ball game, and then also in the Cincinnati game, that is a Thursday night or Sunday night game? I think
Thursday
night game, and I only know because they send me emails, but they're honoring, they're putting Willie Anderson in the Ring of Honor, this and that, and so I think that's going to be a really hype game. So if we go in there undefeated, or whatever, and then we're playing against the Bengals, Joe Burrow versus Tua, wakes up the LSU, Bama rivalry, this and that, all that's going to come into play. And if our offensive line can't handle the crowd, it's different playing at home than playing on the road with the crowd noise, this and that. And if they get out a little bit, it could be a little tough to win. So that was some of my reasoning in picking the Dolphins not to win that game there.
Doug.
It's the fact that Byron won't be playing that game.
Yeah.
And the Bengals just have so many weapons on offense. And with the lack of corners we have, I think it's going to be a high-scoring game, a back and forth. But I think with the lack of having Byron out there, is gave the slight edge to the Cincinnati Bengals.
You guys made valid points, but I ain't changing.
Honestly, man, I'm expecting to see prime time too, man. I'm expecting to really see like a first coming out of what we're going to see consistently throughout the rest of the season come the Cincinnati game, just based off the magnitude of who we're playing, not only the team but the opposing team's quarterback. And pretty much going back-to-back losses from what I got right there against the Ravens and the Bills. I don't see Tua losing 3 straight games. I'm gonna say
this. I'm going on record. This is going to be Tyreek's. This is going to be Tyreek's biggest game as a Dolphin.
Reason I'm going to piggyback what you just said, and I'm going to piggyback what Martin said. I think this is going to be Tua's best game of the season for the reason of it being primetime and the reason of being Joe Burrow.
That LSU
that deep down in that dude's heart. Deep down in his soul,
he knows he could have beat him. If Judy didn't drop the football twice, he would have beat him.
And I'm with Dougley. Like, not having Byron Jones with T. Higgins out there, man, that's scary. But here's my question: who the hell do the Bengals have to cover Waddle and Tyreek Hill?
Yeah,
nice
and Sticky. Yeah,
would Nick Needham be there in quarterback 1?
Ooh, damn.
That's a good point.
That's a real question.
And it's prime time. You're going to see pissed off Tua. They're going to be amped for this game. And this is where when you get a guy like Tyreek Hill, man, like he has his past, and everyone's got their past, man. Yeah. And he did some things that I just don't stand for. But I believe everyone gets a second chance. And Tyreek Hill has come to this franchise and been everything that you want in a player. And people feed off those type of players, right? Like Tyreek's so used to being in the prime time, he knows what it's like. Some of these guys on our team, like we've fought 3 years to get a Sunday night football game. I just think having a guy like that, like how many times do you guys remember like a big game and you're excited about it? You can't sleep all week. It's the time for the Dolphins to make that statement, right?
Yeah.
And they come out and get their asses kicked, and it's embarrassing. They come out flat. They have no identity. and I've seen this movie. It's just like Shawshank Redemption to me. I know Andy Dufresne gets out of Shawshank, right? Like every time I see this.
True.
But having a guy like Tyreek Hill who's going to challenge the people around him to be great because he's been great and he's achieved the pinnacle. I just don't think that like you can give this guy enough credit. And man, if you watch this hour and a half or whatever we've done, you're leaving thinking Neal Driscoll's the biggest damn homer in the planet. And like I am literally drinking Dolphins Kool-Aid over here, man. So like I maybe I am, but like I just think this is a game that Tua's going to come out here, throw for 350 and 3. And on Sunday morning or on Friday morning, Pete Schrager and Kyle Brandt and them are going to be talking about Tua Tagovailoa first thing in the morning.
Can I just add to piggyback a little quickly before we get into the Jets game, which isn't going to be very long? Neal, what you kind of said about the Tyreek thing is like, I've seen them invest in Brandon Marshall. I've seen them invest in Mike Wallace. And this man hasn't even played a game. And the return we've got on the $30 million per year we've given him already supersedes Mike Wallace and Brandon Marshall combined. Like the effect he's already had on that locker room in terms of confidence, not just with Tua, but like what you can see with Waddle. You can see just everyone is oozing off of Tyreek Hill, man. And to see him get the captaincy, something I've been saying on this channel since we got him and he started being vocal, is that man needs to be a captain on this team. And I don't know if anyone earned a C this offseason more than Tyreek Hill. And the return we've already got on that money, imagine when you factor in the return we're going to get on what he does on field production. Like this could, I'm going to say it, this could be arguably, if everything keeps going on the trajectory it's going, this could be one of the best, if not the best acquisitions in Dolphins history. Because I mean, Ricky's up there. And we only got a short period with Ricky, but like he's up there. You know, when you look at acquisition wise, the return we've got in such a short time without even the pads coming on in live action, regular season, meaningful game has already been greater than any return I can remember on any big investment like this in a long time. So the Jets, Joe Flacco, Zach Wilson, don't matter. We all pick a dub. Like, what else you want to say? This is an interesting one. The next one is the interesting one. And I was, you know, I sent this to my graphic guy, and I was the first one to get picks in, and he didn't think we'd lose to Minnesota. And then you guys all sent your stuff into me, and I forwarded it. And when I saw that only 2 of you picked us to get this W, I felt better. But do all of you see what I kind of see in terms of like, you know, a explosive offense that might catch us out of nowhere? Like that's kind of what I see here in terms of Justin Jefferson, Dalvin Cook. People sleep on Kirk Cousins' ability. And I mean, my explanation is I've got us coming off a 3-game winning streak. And I think this is the perfect time for a team to catch us snoozing. For all of you guys who had the L before we get to W, guys, what's your take on why you think we're losing to the Minnesota Vikings?
I can't put my finger on the Vikings. That was my whole thing. Like, we, you know, they have the weapons on the offense and Jefferson, Thielen, Cook, you know, but I can't put my and it's the same thing that Dante said with going week by week because you don't know. I don't know what the Vikings are. I think by like week 4, I'll be like, oh, we're gonna win the game against the Vikings, or we're probably gonna lose that game. I just really, at this point in the season, like going into week 1, I don't know what the Vikings are right now. So to me, it was just like, all right, I'll throw one out there.
I put an L. I put an L for the fact that they're balanced across the board and they're Jekyll and Hyde. You just never know what you're gonna get. So I didn't obviously think that we'd win. It just happened to be one of those games that I was unsure about. So I just said, you know, a loss. But if we win, I hope we win it, you know, obviously. But you just never know, man. The run game, they get Dalvin going, they get Jefferson going. Danielle Hunter comes out there and play lights out on the defense, man. That could be one of those ones.
Boys, can I say this? Because I'm seeing people saying Kirk Cousins stinks. I just want to read the last 2 years from him. Can I just read let me read the last 2 years to them. 2020, 4,265 yards, averaged 266.6 a game, 35 touchdowns, 13 interceptions. Okay. You look at last year. Okay. 4,221 yards, averaged 263.8 per game, 33 touchdowns, 7 interceptions. Listen,
He's
we
a
can
pro.
all sit here. Yeah, we can all sit here and say, okay, does he have that winner's DNA when he gets into the playoffs? Sure, that's a conversation we got. It's kind of like Tannehill. Just can't win when you get into the playoffs, right? Is he a regular season stat pattern? Whatever. Kirk Cousins does not stink. You are up here to throw only. Listen, the guy threw the ball 561 times last year for 66.3 completion percentage and only threw 7 interceptions. To do that in the NFL, you cannot stink.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
That's high.
He does not.
That's high level efficiency. High level
Yeah.
efficiency right there.
It's high level. That's exactly the word. That's the word. People don't see the rocket arm. People don't see the big sexy arm, but you look at him and that's what he is, bro. He's high level efficiency, and you can win in the NFL with that.
And to be fair,
more money than him.
and to be fair, the Vikings, even though they have a brand new coach, just like how we have with Mike McDaniel, Kevin O'Connell, this is his first time, being a head coach in the NFL. And I remember him when he was a player with the Patriots. He has a question mark on his head as far as can he get it done. And I think the first couple games of the season is more of a fill out on how Kevin can handle, being a new head coach. But I think the team is what the team is. And whether we like to say it or not, the Minnesota Vikings has been one of the rare enigma winning cultures in sports history. When you think about the Vikings in the 70s, you think about them in the 80s, you think about them in the 90s, the Vikings just always in every single decade, they've gained enough momentum to where they're competitive and they're in contention. So I never count out the Vikings culture. And in this game in particular, I think they're going to be in more of a mindset like, okay, we're tired of losing. Let's get a real statement win against a really good Miami Dolphins team.
This might be when we might meet them at that time where their offense starts getting in the swing of things. Because let's also remember, I just rifled off Kirk Cousins' numbers, boys. Mike Zimmer, a defensive coach, was a defensive-minded guy, was their head coach. O'Connell is a former quarterback in the NFL. This is an offense. Now I just rifled off numbers he put under a defensive-minded coach. Now they've got a fully offensive-minded head coach like we do. So you might see a little bit of an increase. You could see him flirt with 38, 37 this year. I'm just saying, and this might be, we're getting on the middle of the season. This might be when they start clicking. So, but go ahead, BallGame.
I was going to say, like, I think that, like Kirk Cousins in this offense, right? I mean, assuming he puts up similar numbers to last year, like, I mean, I think like conceptually, a lot of people are talking about how this offense helps Kirk Cousins. I mean, it's the same conception that you're going to have for Tua and McDaniel's offenses. I mean, those offenses are similar but different, but the concepts and the way that, again, like Tua, not a rocket arm. You hope that Tua is better situationally and in big games than Kirk Cousins is, right? Like that's where he can differentiate himself. But from like a pure numbers perspective, I mean, I think you're looking at like, Tua's ceiling is going to be somewhere in what we've seen from Kirk Cousins, going over 4,000 yards and 30 plus touchdowns with only 7 interceptions. Like you get those numbers from Tua, I mean, we're all going to be jumping.
We're all ecstatic.
Yeah. So like, I'm not going to sit here and tell you that I think Kirk Cousins is some elite top 10 quarterback, but he's good. And if you get that from Tua in a similar offense, everyone's going to be screaming that Tua is elite. So I think it's just important to keep perspective on these passers and the offenses that they're in and their numbers. Like Cousins is a good NFL quarterback, and I've been on the record saying like, I think, Kirk Cousins, Ryan Tannehill, like that's where I see Tua, ceiling for year 3, right? I think maybe there's a ceiling past that if he's better than those passers situationally in bigger games, in bigger moments. But I think like stats wise, conceptually, that's the trend that we're going to see for Tua. And that's like the next step for him.
I agree.
So we'll see. Like, I really don't think like Dolphins fans really should not be crapping on Kirk Cousins. He'd be the best quarterback on this team right now that they've had since Dan Marino.
I'm going to tell you this, Dante. If you had Kirk Cousins in this offense, we could make a legitimate playoff run. And I know people don't want to hear that.
No, it's true.
I mean, the Shanahan offense in Washington is what bred him and molded him into the guy he is right now.
Exactly. Exactly.
So that's why, remember, Dante, we heard the little whispers of Kirk Cousins there for a couple weeks during the offseason, right? That's why those whispers were going on a little bit. So, people need to relax on Kirk Cousins, man, a little bit. And Dante nailed it. If we get Kirk Cousins production, but with better situational decision-making and playing,
it's a top 10 quarterback.
That is a top 10 quarterback in the NFL, 110%. Dante just nailed it on the freaking head. All right, the Brian Flores return. We all pretty much it's the Jets all over again, baby. Come get it. So we all pretty much think Brian Flores is going to get that work. I think that's all because we also see it's either going to be Trubisky and Pickett, and they have a pretty low offensive line. I'm going to say this, though, boys. George Pickens, if you picked him up in fantasy this year, that man about to ball out. The Lions.
He's a real deal.
Richmond. Martin.
Yeah.
The Lions, bro? Come on. What?
Go ahead,
Mr.
Rich.
Explain the Vikings, and come on. What's going on?
The thing with the Vikings, with Detroit, not the Vikings, Detroit. I just kind of considered this a trap game. I mean, when I first did it, I had to grab my eraser and erase because I kind of looked at somebody where they had like 7 or 8 in a row, and I was just like, it is possible, but I just said if one game is a trap game, it's typically a team that you should beat, and then for some reason you come out flat and lose that game. So that was my thing. I think we should beat the Lions, but I just didn't feel comfortable putting I think it would have been like 6 or 7 wins in a row, and so I said I got to break it up somewhere. So I kind of eeny, meeny, miny mode that when it came up.
Attaboy, the old eeny, meeny, miny mode system.
Well, I think the last time we played Jared Goff, we pretty much sealed his fate with the Rams.
We're about to do it again, right, Martin?
Martin, the reason why I put an L on this one only because I've been watching Hard Knocks, and I quietly love that. Look, let me.
I love him, bro.
But put it like this, right?
Yeah.
Say the Miami Dolphins. say the Miami Dolphins are 4-3, right? And they have good wins this year, right? I can just see a Dan Campbell, crying his eyes out. Guys, just get this one for me. Guys, just. I can
puts
see
up like
it.
300 on us. There you go.
I mean, those guys really want to respond to a Dan Campbell situation, and trust me when I say, as much as we don't like Jared Goff, as a professional quarterback, I think this is going to be a quietly good season for Jared Goff or Jared Goff altogether. And this is like Mr. Richmond said, this is clearly one of those trap games where we just assume this should be an automatic W, and we can literally run into a clothesline against these guys. So I just made up my mind.
Because for some of my fantasy leagues, we draft defensive players. I took Aiden Hutchinson in a couple leagues because I think he's gonna have a beast year. I really honestly think Aiden Hutchinson is gonna have a year. All right, so we all think Justin Fields and Daryl Mooney just ain't enough to get it done. So there you go. The Bears get neutralized in Chicago. It's a wrap. The Browns
Smith might be a Dolphin at that point too, right?
Oh,
there you go.
Man.
There you go. Okay, so none of us expect Jabroni Brisket to beat the Miami Dolphins. We've seen him play at the Hard Rock, so we know how that works out. So again, pure dubs on every side. Pure dubs against the Houston Texans. None of us believe Dameon Pierce. Yes, I think Dameon Pierce is going to be in contender for Rookie of the Year. It's going to be enough on the ground for them to beat us. So there you go. Now, this is where it starts to get interesting because now this is we're coming off the easy part of the schedule. Now we're getting into it. San Fran. So I have the Jedi beating the Padawan, as does BallGame, Dante, and Martin. Neal, Doug, and Richmond have us pulling out the W. They're just looking at our draft status and saying, please, baby, please, baby, please, baby. So, personally, I just think, we talk about, we've seen this, how this story goes. Well, as guys of fans of a team in the AFC East, we've seen how this story goes with Bill Belichick. So until I see it, I'm taking the Jedi Master over the Padawan in terms of McDaniel and Shanahan in this. Ball game, Dante Martin, if you guys want to explain the reason why you gave the L quickly, and then we'll get into Richmond, Doug, and Neal.
It's a tough road game against a team that I really like. I think it'll be a close game. I think Miami can win that football game. Like, this is not a blowout by any means. Like, I just think San Francisco is really good. They got a ton of ball players. I think they're going to be good this year, and it's a tough game across, the entire country. If that's at the Hard Rock, I think maybe it's a different conversation. But they got to lose some games. I mean, I got them coming off like a 5-6 game win streak. Like, it's just a tough one after all those easy teams go all the way out to Santa Clara and get that dub. So
you must have been like this when you were writing those dubs in 5 times in a row, eh? Hey? No, wait till it gets this dub in a row.
This is actually a difficult time in the schedule for the Dolphins, considering I think they're gonna stay on the West Coast, and I think this is just gonna be one of those games where there's gonna be a jet lag, and I think they're just gonna lose to a better team at that moment, because the 49ers, I mean, under Kyle Shanahan, they just know how to win around this time on the calendar, man. It's just a part of the momentum that they usually build throughout the season, and I just see that being a game where we just met our match. Against an opponent. So I see that to be an L,
I think it comes down more so to, if you look at the previous, I had us on a 5-game win streak, and the complacency can set in. You got to travel from one coast all the way to the other. And then you matched up against a team that's equally as talented as you are. And unfortunately, I just had us dropping this one because I just think they're going to eke out a really close game. You know what I'm saying? It's going to come down to a late field goal or something like that. And they're just going to execute a little bit more than we are. And that's going to be the game that snaps us back in and get him ready for his duel against Justin Herbert. So for me, that's the recommitment game. So
let's see it. Neal, Doug, Richmond, you guys picked the dub.
Yeah, just real quick for me, I think they go on the West Coast and they split. If I got a tooth knocked out, I have more faith in the tooth fairy. If I put my tooth under a pillow, give me a $5 bill, than I would at having Trey Lance as my starting quarterback. I'm not a Trey Lance guy, man. I don't think he has a good sample size. I don't think the 49ers are sold on Trey Lance. We might be playing Jimmy Garoppolo for all I know at that point. I don't have a lot of faith in Trey Lance. I do think the 49ers have a really good team. I think they're a team that's similar with us. Like, they have a good roster head to toe. They're pretty solid on both sides of the ball. They have a question mark at quarterback. I like our question mark a little bit better than theirs. So, I think that, I think it's a game we can win. But, God, I have a lot of wins in a row there. You guys were talking about 5. I'm on 9.
Damn.
Richmond and Doug, go ahead.
I was just saying one thing. Similar to last year, like, if you look at this streak, though, like, seriously.
This is where you got to make up the ground. In that 9 games,
you look at these quarterbacks. I mean, you're talking Mitch Trubisky, Jared Goff, Justin Fields, who I like okay, Jacoby Brissett, Davis Mills, and Trey Lance. I mean, for me, I
like Davis Mills the most out of all those guys.
Well, that reminds me of the murderers row we went on last year when our defense looked like an elite defense. I mean, that's what it reminds me of. That stretch reminds me of that. I mean, like, I have them coming down to earth here in a minute. But I think it's one of those things that, man, like, those quarterbacks just don't scare me.
Dougley.
To me, it's the whole Trey Lance thing. It's our offense. It also really reminds me of 2020 when we go over San Fran, people thought we were going to get whipped 47-13. Now, I don't think it was going to be 47-13 win. But I do think that this, I think it'll be split. Like Neal said, I think it'll be split, and obviously it's a little spoiler for the next one. I do think that they'll win this one, and I don't think it has anything to do with Mike McDaniel knowing Shanahan and Shanahan because they know each other. They've been with each other for 10 years plus. So I don't think it has really anything to do with that. I think it has to do with more on the field stuff. and I think that the Dolphins offense is a little bit more explosive, and I like the secondary better. To be honest with you right now, I couldn't name one of the corners on San Fran, and that's probably just because I don't know much about San Fran.
The Chargers. They are next up, and Richmond. You got us beating San Fran. You got us losing to the Chargers. Doug, same. Neal, same. Dante thinks we're going to take that L too, while me, BallGame, and Martin think, we're gonna get the dub. Okay, so I'll just explain me real quick. I think same thing. We're gonna push him to the outside, make him force him, to test his accuracy outside of the numbers and stuff like that. And we've seen that's how teams have really kind of had success from take away that middle of the field, force him outside the numbers to throw, and then contain Eckler. Right now, I do think it's going to be harder to do in terms of the containing of Eckler because their offensive line is better. Obviously, I think that's definitely a top 10 offensive line in the NFL, maybe even top 5. Thing is, I like our front against I don't like our second level scraping and filling gaps necessarily, other than Channing Tindall against the run. But I like our front 5 against the run, so I think we got a shot to contain Eckler. And I think by this time, our run game will be clicking, and I'm going to say it. I love Derwin James. I think when he's healthy, he's the best safety in the NFL. I love Khalil Mack. I love J.C. Jackson. But you look at Nick Bosa, you can look at main players on all 3 of their levels, and they got serious injury concerns in their past. We talk about Taron Armstead missing 2 or 3 games. Lately, over the past couple of years, Derwin James has missed a lot of games. Khalil Mack's missed games. Bosa's missed games. So are they going to be fully healthy defensively when we meet up with them? I don't think so. So that's why I have a sneaking one out against them. And I think we're going to get that dog. We talked about Tua against Burrow. I think you see it against Herbert again, because let's be honest, as rookies, Tua played better against the Chargers defense than Herbert played against our defense. So that's how I see it going. Anyone from the loss column want to take why they see a loss to the Chargers? And if anyone says they see Herbert being an MVP year, excuse me, I got to throw up.
Joey Bosa versus Austin Jackson for me. I think the Chargers have 4 elite players in their defense: Derwin James, J.C. Jackson, Bosa, and Khalil Mack. I do think the Chargers are a bona fide Super Bowl contender. I do. I think because of the line, I think they have good weapons on the outside. Austin Eckler, 20 touchdowns last year. I mean, he's going to play, and love him, hate him or not. I mean, we haven't seen him win a playoff game yet, but we talk about quarterbacks in an ideal situation. I mean, Justin Herbert's in a pretty damn good situation. I just think I think the Chargers and Bills are the 2 best teams in the AFC, and playing them back to back here is going to be pretty tough.
Anyone else want to add anything on that game?
Yeah, I just looked at that's a tough 4-game stretch, and you got Frisco, at LA, at the Bills, and then you come back home and you got Mr. Rogers. So I figured that's why I took San Francisco, but I agree. I think it's Herbert and Tua, same class. They're gonna be hyped up, kind of like when Marino would play Elway. It's just the competitive thing in that. I kind of took that into consideration, but the main thing was I just thought that was a tough game. When you get 3 away games in a row, like you said, 2 of them are on the West Coast, and I do believe once they go out there, they'll just stay out there for both games, and then you come back from the West Coast, come home, and then you go back up to Buffalo. That's a lot of traveling and stuff like that. So that was my logic in picking this one here.
All right, then we are traveling all the way to Buffalo. Martin, explain yourself, because we all are like, this is not a good situation. Martin's like, nah, they got the dub. They ain't going to beat them in 100-degree weather, but they're going to go. So explain it. They're coming off a tough back-to-back West Coast. Another reason why I have them beating the Chargers, because they might settle in and come off that jet lag too. How do you see them beating the Bills in Buffalo late in the season?
There's your answer.
Honestly, man, this is one of those games where the Miami Dolphins, as a team, as a collective players, as an organization, I think they have to look at this game and say to themselves, this has to be the what you would call the enough is enough game, right? It's either you're going to get over your fear of freezing temperatures, get over your fear of a team that you clearly haven't beaten in over 3 years. You have to get like it's literally almost like J-Lo in Enough, right? Enough is enough. We have to stop getting whooped, right? So I think obviously the West Coast, they're on the West Coast. They're gonna stay there, and then when they travel again, it's gonna be directly to Buffalo. The same way the New England Patriots have come to Miami to adapt to the heat. I think it'll make more sense for the Miami Dolphins to go to Buffalo for a week and chill in the blizzard. You know what I mean? Just to see and get used to that type of weather, so they can get acclimated to that reality, because you have to play in those type of conditions to really compete against a team like that. So this is my enough is enough game, and this is the game where I say to myself, okay, if you're going to bump heads with the guy for the AFC East title, this is the time to do it. This is the time to let it be known, like, we're going to be the team to really set them straight. So I just feel like this is a game that can actually, help us, moving forward as far as overall confidence and momentum.
How many people actually up here saw the movie Enough with Jennifer Lopez? Because I feel like I was the only one who got that. Oh, BallGame saw it. Richmond saw it. All right, okay. I thought that'd been a better reaction, just because if anyone's seen that, Martin literally just compared the Dolphins and the Bills to Jenny from the Block in the movie where her man's beating the hell out of her and she finally snaps and gives him the work, bro.
I'm just saying, man.
Oh my God, I love it. This is why I do these shows, bro. Green Bay. So Richmond and Doug, you expect a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. I mean, we all
great minds.
Yeah, there you go, eh? So the floor is yours, gentlemen.
I don't. Again, at this point, we'll know. Obviously Rodgers is Rodgers, and he can lift any talent around him to make him better. But in all honesty, who's he throwing it to? And at this point, it doesn't really worry me. It's in Miami. If it was up in Lambeau, then I might be like a little different there. But I just think we'll be turning it up at this point. And I'm hoping it's a different team with Mike McDaniel, because the Dolphins always get to a point where they're in the playoff hunt, or they're in the line for the division, and then they falter. They always lose some games and they always fall. And then all of a sudden we're like, oh, if we could have looked back at the schedule, like if it was my schedule, if we could have just beat the Vikings, then we wouldn't have to worry about the Packers loss, yada, yada. So I think that they finally, get over that stuff, and enough is enough, like Martin said, and we beat the Packers at home.
Owen Hart, man. Enough is enough, and it's time for a change. Owen Hart, there you go. I do want to kick it to Neal and Dante for a second, because if anyone hasn't noticed, we've gone from a 9-game winning streak with Neal to a 3-game losing streak, and Dante has us on a 4-game losing streak. Boys, this is the toughest part of the schedule, huh?
Yeah, I mean, again, like, this goes back to my point earlier, right? It's like I didn't sit down and went like game by game. It was like, this is how many games I think the team's going to win this year, and I got to find X number of losses. And like, these are good teams in tough scenarios, but like, I'm kind of with Dougley, right? Like, there's a version of this where like Green Bay is just not that good this year because they lost a lot of talent and Aaron Rodgers just can't quite prop them up. But we don't know that right now. Like, right now, with the information that I have, I'm not betting against Aaron Rodgers on Christmas. Like, I'm not doing it. Like, and like, I'm not saying that they can't win that game or that it's even like a bad idea. Like, I'm just not doing it right now, but we might get to week 2 even, and I can watch Green Bay and be like, nah, this team ain't got it. Like, Miami's going to win that game. You know what I mean? So I had a number in my head that I thought this team was going to win. And it's like, I don't love, like, I think they're set up for failure against San Francisco and Buffalo, and then like Green Bay and the Chargers are kind of a coin flip, and could go the wrong way there. But I have them finishing the season strong and making the playoffs. So clearly, I still think they're a good football team. I just think this is a really tough stretch.
Same sentiments there. I mean, like, when if I had to do a preseason power rankings, I think the Chargers, Bills, and Packers would probably be all in my top 5-6 teams in the league. And, he's definitely lost some of the weapons at his disposal in Devontae Adams. I think potentially this is the best secondary that Tua might face all year, with Jari Alexander, Darnell Savage, Adrian Amos. I've heard a lot of good things about Eric Stokes, Rasul Douglas. I mean, they have a really loaded secondary. And, they do have, Preston Smith and Kenny Clark up there and Rashawn Gary.
Devondre Campbell came back.
Devondre Campbell, I think the defense might be the strength of the Packers team, which makes them a little more dangerous because, look, Aaron Rodgers is an all-time great passer, and it's not like the cupboard's completely bare. I mean, he does have good chemistry with Randall Cobb. Alan Lazard has done some nice things there.
Romeo Dobbs apparently is popping off right now.
Well, and they have a decent offensive line, especially with Bakhtiari and Elgton Jenkins on the left side. And they might have the best 1-2 combo in the backfield in the league with A.J. Dillon and Aaron Jones. I mean, so I think it's just tough. Like Dante said. I mean, they got to lose some games, and I think we all remember a few years back where we had Aaron Rodgers on the ropes and he threw the game winner to Andrew Quarless, and I literally dropped my beer, shattered a glass, and made a poor waitress have to go get the beer and help me clean up glass because I was so pissed off, So
that hurt because Tannehill did enough to win that game, and our defense let him down in the final minute. Man, that game hurt, man.
Well, and the game, right? Where Joe Philbin came out and said it made him feel queasy.
Yeah,
right. Well, and I have a big party on Christmas at my house, and it's just in my fashion that all my family would be over there to watch me have a meltdown and throw remotes. I mean,
let's go.
That
Christmas vacation at Neal's house this year, eh?
No one better give me the Jelly of the Month club because I'll freaking lose it.
My wife's a Packers fan too, so Christmas is going to be fun for me.
Neal,
right.
Neal, because he kind of got his hairline a little bit, bro. You need to do the Dennis Quaid and wear the Dickie under the long sleeve, the Dickie turtleneck, the fake turtleneck.
I've been him before at
a
classic party, actually, dude.
Classic, bro. Tell me you had the moose eggnog, bro.
I had that.
Attaboy.
Except I was drinking whiskey out of it, but all good.
Doug BallGame believed that Tua's winning streak against Bill Belichick ends to start 2023.
And it's funny because last year during the panel, I had the Dolphins sweeping the Patriots, and I got crap for that, and I was right. Hopefully, I'm wrong with this one though.
Yeah.
It to me, it has to do with the cold weather. Tua needs to prove to me that he can play well in the cold weather, and it's going to be cold with those Buffalo and New England games. So that's the only thing for me. If he can show me he can play well in the cold weather, then he'll be 5-0 against Belichick.
I don't want to sound crazy, but I still, even though he's had success against Belichick, I still respect the shit out of that man. And one thing for sure is that getting up on him, you don't stay there for long. So that's the time gonna be short lived. They're gonna figure something out to be able to pull out a win. They're gonna be probably close to needing wins down the stretch too to continue their run of playoff appearances as well. So they're gonna scrape and fight. I don't know. I hate playing the Patriots late in the season, man. I really do. So,
and then
they did us. They did us greasy, man. Like look at that. We're on the West Coast for 2 straight weeks, and then we got nothing but cold teams after that. It's like what are they doing to us, man?
You can't complain about it. You gotta fight. You gotta fight through it.
Yeah. You're right, man. You gotta play the games. You're right.
Yeah. To be the best, you gotta beat the best, and you gotta beat them wherever they line up at. So 11-6.
Go ahead.
This game scares me. I'll be honest. I think we win it, but this game scares me for everything that Dougley said earlier, where you win a game, you have to go in the playoffs, and every time that happens, we fail the litmus test. I don't think Jets have anywhere near the talent of us, but it's just one of those games where Zach Wilson's back and they're knocked out and they're playing reckless and Elijah Moore's catching freaking bombs on Byron Jones. It scares me. I got to admit a little bit that it scares me. They do. I mean, the Jets have improved their roster, right? This game makes me a little nervous. We'll see what happens. I'd much rather it be Joe Flacco that we're playing against at this point of the season. But it's a game that I think we'll win at home. But just because it has all the makings of being that game, winning you're in. And outside, the only time that I remember that happening was actually when Pennington went down in 2008 and beat Brett Favre in the Jets. That's the only time I remember getting a win in the last week of the season, getting in. So, I always get queasy on week 17, no matter who's on the schedule. Well, week 18 in this case.
When it's all said and done, though, we all picked the dub, probably because we all saw it was at home. And Neal, Richmond, and I have us at 12-5. Doug, BallGame, and Martin have us at 11-6. And Dante is actually, hold on a sec, let me pull it up. There are people booing Dante in the comment section for only giving us 10 wins.
Boo that man!
It's one game.
Throw your hat.
One game.
I know. But if you look at it, we're all pretty much in the same realm. We're splitting hairs. Like 12-5 and 11-6 is splitting hairs, just like 11-6 to 10-7 is splitting hairs here. Can we all agree, down all the way to Dante, can we all agree that we're a playoff team?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
This is a
There you
good
go.
football team. I just think it's a tough end of the year schedule. That's all. This is a good team.
Well, I mean, look at us. I had us, if you look at it, I had us 9-2 going into the final 6 weeks. I had us build that cushion, and then we went 3-3. You look at 4-2, 3-3 from Doug. You look at BallGame. He had us rolling, and then the final 6 were 2-4. You have us 2-4. Neal has us 3-3. Martin has us 4-2. Like, we all pretty much know this back. Listen, this is how this season works off. You got to have at least a 500 start. You got to build the cushion in the middle, and then you got to come out of the last 6 500, at least 500.
Well, hey,
that's what needs to happen.
Reason, let me ask a question to the panel here, though. So we finished last season 9-8, right?
Yeah.
Now we've added Tyreek Hill, Cedric Wilson, Terron Armstead, Connor Williams, Alec Ingold, Chase Edmonds, Raheem Mostert, Melvin Ingram, and Trey Flowers to this team. We all predicted that Tua is going to be almost twice as good statistically as he was last year. We're all talking about this Jalen Phillips coming out party. Oh, and we have a coach that doesn't hate our quarterback and wants to kill our locker room and actually knows what an offense looks like and wants to hire a coaching staff that can develop people, right? So when I see that I have him at 12-5 at first glance, I'm like, Neal, man, you're on something, right? But then
that's how I felt. Yeah.
But then I look at this roster, I look at this schedule, and I'm not saying it's an easy schedule, but it has some games that we should win. I mean, to be blunt, I think this Dolphins team has more potential to be this year's Bengals than to have a disaster 6-11 season. I just don't see it. I said this earlier in the day, on the show. I believe the most important ingredient in all sports is talent. And when I was doing my 53-man roster, I mean, I was cutting Sam McGuavin at 53, who's a guy who's made plays on this team before, because I had to try to find ways to get some players in, right? And it's been a very long time since a guy like Trey Flowers is your last pass rusher on your roster. I just think that even the guys that are the backups, like a Duke Riley, like they have a purpose here. We have young players. Like, we didn't have a first or second round pick because we got Tyreek Hill. We could have had George Karlaftis and Brian Cook. That's who the Chiefs drafted with those picks. And I'm not saying, neither of those guys are going to be Tyreek Hill, but we still walked away with that draft with a guy, Channing Tindall, who I think is actually going to have a very specific role in this defense, especially when we play the Buffalo Bills. We have Skylar Thompson that's looking like one of the best off-season stories that there is, right? We've seen Eric, Easy E. I said this on a podcast that reason I had. Man, I see a little bit of Brandon Marshall in that dude's game, and I get
even
excited.
Cameron Good. Look at what Good showed us in the preseason. He pretty much just showed you, I'm just a pass rusher at Cal. This guy's dropping in coverage, setting the edge. Even he looks like he's going to be a hit.
I mean, this is the most talent that I've seen on a Dolphins roster in a very long time. I don't want to say 20 years because that gets kind of crazy, but maybe it is. I mean, if Tua Tagovailoa becomes the player that we are anticipating, or even 75 to 80% of that, this Dolphin team is a playoff team like they have, I think we all at a time got frustrated with the process and Chris Greer's evaluation. And then I still can't believe that Tyreek Hill's a Miami Dolphin. That move set the foundation for all of us to change and believe. And then Taron Armstead wanted to come here. You remember, everyone's like, no one's going to want to go to Miami. It's toxic. Well, Tyreek Hill wanted to come here. Taron Armstead wanted to come here. I mean, you're talking about upper echelon players. This Dolphin team, to me, I mean, it's going to be a fun season. And I mean, I think that our predictions here tell a story. Look at the variance. I mean, we're talking one game. The biggest difference is a 2-game variance. And look, we're all Dolphin fans, but I don't think any of us is sitting here saying they're going to be undefeated like the 1972 Dolphins and win the Super Bowl. I think we're being realistic. Say I'm a homer and they really end up 11-7. I mean, at the end of the day, that's a playoff team. Like, get to that 11th win and you cement yourself as a playoff team. Because I think at 10 wins again, it's one of those things that gets scary, right? Like, you might think, oh man, 10-7 gets you in, but I mean, look at that AFC West. That's all I got to say. Look at that. That's 4 really good teams.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And real quick, I wanted to comment real quick about the last game. Even though we have all of us beating the New York Jets, that's still one of those games where if it is a winning in scenario, I want to use that game as another enough is enough type of situation, because again, 2020 winning in week 17 in Buffalo, 2021 winning in against the Tennessee Titans. If we're in that scenario again, especially against a rival in the New York Jets and them in particular having nothing to lose, that's the perfect game to catapult us into the playoffs to officially say, okay, let's do this, and I'm looking to see how that actually plays out. Mm-hmm.
And even if injuries pile up a little bit, we all still agree, if you're in that position, this is the best. This is not the Bills or the Tennessee Titans. This is a team, even with some injuries stacked up on your side, you should get it done no matter what. So if they don't get that done, you got to start looking at the core, not just the coaching staff, right?
Exactly. Mm-hmm.
All right, guys, let's get in some final thoughts before we get out of here. I still wanted to ask you guys about, the punt returner situation, because it looks like it's going to be Tyreek, Javon Holland, or Jalen Waddle. I wanted to ask you guys how confident you were as Mike McDaniel as a play caller and a play designer, just because you've seen us run different things out of the same look. You've seen him even in vanilla stuff. He's like, play calling with a purpose, and the play designs have looked very, very good. And I wanted to ask you if we had championship depth, because I think we only have it really on our defensive front. But the one thing I did want to ask you guys and talk about in your final thoughts, I asked you guys for any bold takes. So here's your chance. Final thoughts, bold takes. If you want to talk about any of those questions I was going to bring up to you guys, knock yourself out. But we'll start with you, Doug.
My bold take, and I don't even know if this really is a bold take, but I think that Jalen Phillips is going to be running for Defensive Player of the Year. We talked about it. I know Neal brought it up, and I talk about it constantly, that he consistently over pursued quarterbacks, right? He has that speed that he doesn't even control. I think 4 or 5 times he overshot the quarterback. There's a few times that he was seconds away from the quarterback. 8.5 sacks. That man probably should have had about 12.5 to 13 sacks his rookie year. So,
in minimal snaps.
Exactly. And dropping him back into coverage a ton of times and everything too. So I honestly think that my bold prediction is he's going to be, if not the winner, but like one of the finalists for Defensive Rookie of the Year. But looking at this team as a final thought and kind of culminating everything you were asking, Mike McDaniel, first time really doing this. I'm worried about that, but I think he can handle it. We've seen these head coaches come in that are first timers. Harbaugh was a special team coach, goes to Baltimore, and look at the success he's having. This is a year that the Dolphins need to make the playoffs, right? 10-6, 9-8. You added too much to this team to not make the playoffs. Not only does this team need to make the playoffs, but Tua needs to shut a lot of people up, right? He needs to put up or shut up, because unfortunately, if he has like a meh year, and to me, last year for him, a lot of people want to come out and say it was horrible, he sucked, this and that. dead wrong. I think last year for me on Tua was just a meh year, so up and down, inconsistent. But to have that type of year with the worst offensive line, the worst run game, horrible separation, horrible yak from your wide receivers, he needs to show that I can do that with this. This is what I can do since you put some of the best around me. So I showed you 11 wins, 12 wins. They got to do it. My basement, my like worst case scenario is like 9-10 wins. They got to win these games that they're supposed to, against the Jets, against Detroit, against Steel. This team is better than those teams. If you are looking at your team and you're looking at the team across you and you know you're better, win the game. There's too many. The Dolphins, for my whole life of being a Dolphin fan, has played down to the competition and have played up to the competition. 2-12 Dolphins beating the 12-2 Patriots Monday Night Football. Like, come on, you got to beat the team across from you to be better than them. So that's my thought process. Playoffs or bust. But again, last thing I'm going to say, if the Dolphins don't make the playoffs, that has no implication on Tua's play this year, because look at Justin Herbert. And that's what I got.
I don't necessarily know if it's, yeah, it is a bold take. I think the guy that he's going to be fighting for Defensive Player of the Year is going to be with the guy that's actually commanding the secondary, the guy up on the perch. I think Javon Holland is going to actually be out here proving to everyone that he is and deserves to be in the conversations amongst, elite. You know what I'm saying? And I think this team, right, it just really comes down to me. It still all comes down to how fast they can actually acclimate to what his mindset is for offense. I think the defense is going to be fine. I think the defense understands that they need to, and they're going to have to shoulder the load for the first couple weeks. I think that's just, they're the furthest along in the process. But how fast this offense gets their stuff together is going to determine a lot of the success they're going to have, especially in the middle of the season, and maybe sneak up on a couple of the games that we picked and grab a couple of wins early on. If they can come out of that first stretch 4-2, I think the sky's the limit for them at that point. And they can minimize the injuries, and the more he dives into his playbook and his installs become more intricate and things of that nature to throw people off, and boy, you know what I'm saying, gets the defense at least streamlined to a point where they are actually dictating the tempo and dictating to teams instead of just reacting to what other teams are doing, which I hate seeing. I hate bend don't break. That's shit makes no sense to me whatsoever. It never did as a coach. I think you're supposed to go out and impose your will on people and then break their spirit as early and as often as possible. And if you do that, you can be a lot successful. That's like the Ravens did when they had the historic defense. We need to get back to that type of mindset, and I think this team can actually do that with the personnel we have in place. So, I said 11-6, but I really want to see 13. I think 13 puts us at least at one of those games where we're playing at home, instead of on the road. You feel me? Which gives us another. I don't just want to win a playoff game. I want to win the game and then move to the next round and then win that one as well. And if we're home, that gives us a better chance. So, you know what I'm saying? For me, 12-5 could do that as well, I think, because the AFC is so tough. But overall, Javon Holland, Pro Bowler, All-Pro this year, fighting with with Phillips for Defensive Player of the Year. And then, this offense just clicking in, man. And Tua just, like Doug said, shutting these fools out here up. You know, so.
Dante, bold take, final thoughts?
Muted.
You're muted, brother.
There we go. Rough night for me. I think my bold take, I'm going to go with, I think Hunter Long's a player. Like, I think we come out this year and we kind of look at him as maybe he's the tight end going forward. That's my bold take. I think that he's got the prototype to be that guy. I feel like the writing on the wall is there with Gesicki, and I'm not a Durham Smythe guy at all. So that's my bold take. Final thoughts for this team. I mean, I'm with you guys. Like, this is a prove it year. And it feels weird to say that because it's a first-time head coach with a completely revamped offense, and we're all like, nope, they have to win this year. It's a disaster, right? Like, no, like truly, it's very weird. Like, how many teams are in that position? Like, even a team like Minnesota, right? Like, they've got a really good offense and a first-time head coach. I don't think people are like, oh, the Vikings have to win 12 games this year and have a home playoff game, or it's a disappointment. Like, nobody's really saying that about them, but that's the position Miami's put themselves in because they've been so close on the cusp of that next step for the past 2 years, and they didn't finish it. And then they brought back the entire defense, right? So it's like, well, that's the expectation now. Like, McDaniel kind of did it to himself, and I applaud him for it. Really, I think it was a good decision. So it's a next step for Tua. It's a next step for this team, this organization, this franchise. I think they take it. I do. I think they get over the hump. I think they get to the playoffs. I think that, next year we really talk about them as a legitimate contender, maybe in the AFC. I think that there's a universe where that happens, and I think they're trending in the right direction. So that would be my final thoughts. I think they had a really good offseason. I'm with you guys. I'm really excited about this team. I know, 10-7 maybe doesn't look that way, but I think they're a really good football team. I think they're going to be competitive. I don't think we're going to see any, games like we saw at the beginning of last year where like the Dolphins don't look like they belong on the football field to some of those other teams, right? Like, I don't think we're going to see that this year. They'll be thoroughly competitive. They'll win games. They'll make the playoffs. I think Tua gets better. How much better? We'll see. I think he gets better. I think they get it done.
Richmond, your final thoughts.
My focus,
and a bold take if you have one.
Well, I guess my bold take is the offensive line, and I think the quicker that unit comes together with the weapons we have, if the energy kind of remains the way it did this offseason and the way it worked in preseason, I think the question is you get so many limited reps that now the regular season started. Can you continue that for 4 quarters versus playing maybe a quarter and a half? But if we can get that offensive line of gel and the weapons we got and really get on the roll, I think their confidence is going to soar through the roof. And like you said, bringing in veterans like a veteran from Tyreek Hill from Kansas City that's used to going to the playoffs, that's emerged as a leader, being named the captain. Those are who some of those guys are going to look to when the game gets tough. And, he's not going to shy away from it. And I think everybody else is going to kind of mature toward that. But the key for me is the offensive line and how quick that comes together. I'm not worried about the defense or anything like that. If we get the offensive line, I think we're going to be really, really happy. And I think they possibly exceed my projection. So that's what I'm banking on right there.
Neal.
Yeah, no, a couple bold predictions. I actually share a lot of the sentiments Dante said with Mike Gesicki. One of my bold predictions was good that I don't think he's a Dolphin come halfway through the season. I think they trade him to fill a hole, whether it's a cornerback or offensive line. Maybe someone in the Chargers, Corey Linsley or something, for a Mike Gesicki straight up to fix this line. I think that'd be a good trade for both sides. Another bold take, I think they win a first playoff game they've won in 20 years. I have them in my projections, beating the Colts 27-20 on the road. So, I think it's nice to see it. And kind of to wrap it up, let's get our boys Richard Webb and Zach Thomas in the Hall come August next year. I think that's important. And, I think one thing, with a heavy heart, we lost, Jason Jenkins this year. I turned 40 3 weeks ago, so I am going to donate $40 for every touchdown pass that Tua throws this year to the foundation that they just started for Jason Jenkins. I know that was a tough loss for the organization, and I just think that doing anything we can do to support that charity for a man that lost his life in the prime of his life, family, 3 kids, I just think that, as a community, it was awesome to see everyone come together in a community that has been, there's been a lot of friction out there. And I'm looking forward to enjoying the season and having more discussions with people like I have on this panel, where it's a friendly conversation. We don't all have to agree on everything. That's what makes football and watching it fun, is that we all see it through a different lens. We have different perspectives. we don't have to tear each other down and save takes and make people look like stupid. Like, dude, in my life, I've been wrong more than I'm right, and I'm okay admitting that. Like, that's the way it goes. I thought Trent Richardson was going to be the second coming of Evan Smith, maybe. Right? So, like, at the end of the day, like, that I just think it's so important. Like, have fun with this community, because when you win and you're hanging out and you're meeting new Dolphin fans and, you're celebrating with the community, I think that's the most fun of being a fan. So, I just look forward to going down this journey. We're only a few days away, man. And, it's awesome that it's back. The team has some good expectations. You're not going to be awful. And I'm just really excited about this year and really appreciate everyone on this panel. I think you guys are awesome.
Dude, it could be worse. There's a certain troll on Twitter that not a lot of us like up here. And that man had Davis Webb as the number 1 quarterback in that draft class. And we all know the other quarterbacks that was in that draft class. So trust me, bro, the Trent Richardson isn't that bad when you put it up against that kind of stuff. Martin, your final thoughts.
Hey,
and
man,
bold take, you got one.
Trent Richardson is another name that contributed to this Deshaun Watson trade to Cleveland. They're like, you know what? We've seen enough.
Yeah.
we need to do this.
Brandon Weeden.
Brandon Weeden. Oh man.
Same draft. Remember they got them both.
Right, man. But I will say, like, the bold take that I have is it's not really even a bold take. Every time the Miami Dolphins have made the playoffs in these last 10 years or so, 2008 and 2016, the offensive line, man, they look good, they played good, and caveat, they didn't give up too many sacks, bro. So my big take is that our offensive line figures it out, man, and they don't give up more than 30 sacks this season. And if that happens, that normally bodes well for the Miami Dolphins, run to the playoff. And that's pun intended. We need to run the football, man, and we need to run it well. And I think we will with this scheme that Mike McDaniel is implementing. I think it's the perfect scheme, and we have the perfect players as far as athleticism is concerned, and as far as ability by our running backs are concerned. I think it just works out well in our favor, and the offensive line is going to look much better because of this scheme, and that's my big take. We won't give them more than 30 sacks this season.
All right, so we're gonna get out of here, guys. I was expecting this to be an hour and a half show, and we're up on 2 hours and 20. I appreciate each and every one of you for giving up some of the time you have to do this show. This was an absolutely amazing conversation. The comment section was live, loving it. We had over 750 people in here at one point tonight. Listen, my bold take is this. I expect Tua to be a top 12 quarterback. I've been on record and said I expect Jalen Phillips to enter the top 10 pass rusher realm this year and enter the realm of the Boses and the Garretts next year. All right? I expect that. So my bold take, for the first time since the year 2000, when Jason Taylor and Trace Armstrong did it, Emmanuel Ogbah and Jalen Phillips will be the first 10-plus sack guys we have had in 22 years. That'll be my bold take, that both Ogbah keeps coming close every year. It's coming. Every year since he's come here, it's coming. Jalen's going to get more reps this year. I'm telling you, between the two of them, we will have more than 20. They will each have more than 10 sacks. That'll be my bold take.
And reason, BallGame mentioned Javon Holland being the
I
MVP,
expect him to be an all-pro,
the defensive
though.
MVP.
That's why I'm not putting him out there. I expect all-pro.
I think another bold take is Javon Holland is going to be the first safety in Dolphins history to have double-digit interceptions in one season.
Oh, wow.
He's going to be the first.
Wow.
He's going to be the first.
That's bold as hell, bro. That is bold. But see, again, I'm not talking about. I expect. I thought he was Pro Bowl caliber last year. I mean, everyone knows I've loved Javon Holland since 2019. I expect all-pro this year. So it's going to be dude. You look at the three levels. If Tyndall becomes the guy we think he's going to become, we are in good shape with Phillips, Tyndall, and Holland leading us the way, guys. We're going to get out of here. I appreciate each and every one of you for coming through. Smash the like button. Subscribe if you're new. And if you haven't yet, please go check out FinsideTheNFL.com. I'm telling you, the merch store off the chain. We're giving up the Mike Gets Sticky shirt on September 30th. We got the shirts. We got the hats. We got socks for your girl. Whatever you need, we got it. Go check it out. FinsideTheNFL.com. All right. Appreciate all of y'all. Fins up all day, every day. I'll possibly see y'all tomorrow because we got the finish line. So see y'all tomorrow.
Peace, man. Yes, sir.